We certainly are live now. What's going on, everybody? It's Matt, aka the Lumberjack Landlord, here with his good buddy, Dion Talk Financial Freedom. Why? Because Dion is retired.
Too early in a video to share a story that could be considered racist.
Oh, dear God.
Can I do it this quick in the video, or should I wait until there's more people?
Oh, my heavens.
How many people would you like to see me be racist? If it was anti-racist, I was the idiot in the story.
Yeah, well, I mean, thus is almost every story you and I tell, right?
Right, exactly. You look around the room and you can't see the dummy.
Yeah, you're the dummy.
Yeah,
exactly. Right. You're it. So what I wanted to talk about today, Dion, was just all the craziness that we're seeing from the crashers that are actually taking the time to explain to people what we've been saying for a year, that housing prices and the market and what's going on in the market are somehow correlated to rates.
That's actually, and that's funny. You and I were just talking off camera about
yes,
my visceral reaction to a content creator who I actually like. I watch his stuff, but
yes,
today he was doing some dumb things, and he did it too. Talked about rates, talked about when rates go down, prices will go up, but prices went up but rates went up and prices continue to go up. Yeah. So the bad thing, which is smart, this I liked, is that means if rates go back down, prices will go up from where they are now. So it was nice to see that.
Yeah, I mean, I think at the end of the day, people still just don't understand that the economy is not a vending machine. You don't put $1 in, press a button, or $2 in some cases, and get a drink out. That's just not how it works. There's time ticking up and time ticking down, and then time recuperating. It was hilarious. I was watching something last night, and it was admittedly, I don't know how anybody watches this particular person's channel, but I was watching something last night, and because it was purely data driven. I was like, it was brutal, but I'm watching it, and what blew my mind was this. The people that are talking about these slowdowns, all you ever have to do is look at a chart year over year, and you can see it doing this when they track by the months, and it's trending up, but it's still a bubble, up and down, up and down, up and down. And so one of the brilliant things, and I have to try and think about, what was his name? Because I want to give him credit. It was one of the financial channels. I'll find it. I'll make sure to give him credit. But it was pure brilliance on his part, because he said, if you look consistently year over year, the lowest price for a house for the year is typically in the first 3 weeks of January. He said, so that is going to be the test. If by the first 3 weeks of January, we have some significant correction, he goes, likely it will continue to increase up through the course of the year, and then you hit lower lows at the end if something like that happens. He goes, but the real bellwether is going to be that second and third week of January, seeing what's happening there, because typically you see those decreases because you're finally getting over all the houses that were listed in November, listed in December, that are finally now closing. And how far off is that of what a normal market is? That's where you can see that far off move. How does that strike you?
There's two factors there that most people don't consider. The first one is they're just looking at calendar year and they're saying January is the start of the year, so it must be the lowest because whatever reason. And no, it's the middle of winter.
Seasonal. Yeah, exactly.
So it's seasonal. And then two things, a lot of transactions were pushed through. Like people did everything they could to get their closing date.
Yeah.
Calendar year this year.
Yep.
So now we have that lull where people push things through to get them done quicker. And it just takes a few more weeks to get the next deals rolling again.
Yeah. Some people want to pull in a deal. Other people want to push out a deal. If you're making a bunch of money, you want to push it to January 1st. But if somebody's spending a bunch of money, they want to pull it into this year, because then it's, the deduction you can take on your taxes this year. So I'll run through the highlights real quickly. Jeff M. Hey, Jeff M. George Gammon is live right now. I'll be waiting when he's done. I covered most of this with George prior to his live stream. So, I mean, he'll probably talk a lot about that stuff. Dion Meowdy. I'm in the chat though. Hey Jeff, I'm glad you're in the chat. All Nighter Hyder, what's up? I know Hyder's probably got 2 screens going. I bet he's got Gammon on one and us on the other. Financial, hit that like button. Thanks, Hyder. I appreciate it. Let's see. Rob. Okay. Oh, perfect. Rob's here. Aloha from 79 degrees in the morning, Hawaii. So, Mark, whoopee doo for you. It is 22 here and we've got 2 inches of snow on the ground. But you know what, Mark? You can't make a snowman. And that tires kids out. Francis McMillan, excellent content. Thank you. Thank you, Francis. I appreciate you, my friend. Rob, wait, the lumberjack not in a flannel, the multiverse has bent. It's true. I'm not in a flannel. I'm in a regular sweatshirt. And you know what's really funny? Sweating my brains out. I'm gonna have to change to a t-shirt real quick. And my basement studio isn't even that hot. I put it down here because it was cold. Theta Hedge Capital Sunday already. Nope. Theta Hedge. I thought you needed a dose of lumberjack and Dion. So we did this live stream just so we could spend some time with you. T, howdy. Good morning. Michelle Meyer. Good morning. I left Rebel Capitalist to be here. So nice of you, Hyder. At a meeting with a buddy of mine. We're watching as always. Love it. Love it. Jeff M, all nighter. Yeah, I have Rebel Capitalist paused. I'm telling you, you can watch it later. George doesn't need the views. I mean, quite frankly, I don't need the views either. Dion and I aren't retiring any different a timeline. So,
Well, and the YouTube income isn't going to be how we retire.
Man, that's so true.
Right.
Thank God I have a business that makes as much money as it does, where YouTube money doesn't matter. Theta Hedge Capital, lumber. A while ago, you mentioned an appliance manufacturer to stay away from. Was it Samsung? Yes, Samsung and LG. Looking to purchase a brand new used stove, but don't want to get stuck with someone's junk. So Samsung and LG right now are struggling and parts are tough. I can tell you that in the last 6 months, we've had 2 Samsung fridges less than 3 years old require a $500 repair. That's a bunch of bullshit. That's just less than 3 years old, require a $500 repair. And the brand new fridge was like maybe $1,800-$1,900 because we buy nicer stuff in for
Yes,
a
you
lot of
do.
our stuff. Well, yeah. I
That's
mean,
not bad.
no, it's not.
No, it's a
Dion
good
and
thing.
Dion and I have a total bromance because where Dion leaves off, I pick up. And
Right.
we talked a lot about it for the course that I'm super pumped. We announced the course. We have a syllabus video that's going to come out tomorrow that takes you right through all of the syllabus, every single step, all the things we're going to cover, all the things we're going to learn, all of the pricing, all of the everything. It's all going to be in there. And Dean and I were talking a lot about it because we're just like, he takes the laziest approach I've ever seen, which is pure perfection, because the results don't lie.
And to be completely transparent, the reason the conversation started was because Matt was reaching out to me.
Yes.
And goes, "Hey, Dion, are you going to be offended when I call you as lazy as I really think you are?" And no, I'm not going to be offended because that's my whole branding is this can be done by the simple, lazy person with a bad memory.
It's perfection. So it really does work. And the other thing that I asked Dion too was, because I'd said it a couple of times before, I was like, hey, so I know kind of like the income snowball is really your thing. And I was like, and I get it. And it's totally true. And I said, but the income avalanche is really my kind of thing. But you have to do different things to get an avalanche than you do to get a snowball. And so while they're both awesome, it really just depends on what you are. And I think that there's going to be people that take my course and say, you know what, this is great, but I don't want all this process in place for me to grow really big. I'm going to go really simple. A lot of that stuff will still help you. But it's recognizing that a lot of the power comes in expansion and like what Deanna and I talk about, which is, recycling capital and things like that. Those are a lot of things that are just different in how we run our businesses, but it doesn't make either one wrong. It really just, you get to pick. So that's my take on it. But yeah, that syllabus, who put that? What was that? Was that?
Rob.
Of course it was Rob. Of course it was Rob. Rob, don't worry. I want to have Hyder put you in timeout because I thought that was funny. So it is a silly bus, but we'll see how many people get on this silly bus, because we're also going to limit the number of people in the boot camp. So the very first boot camp is only going to have 25 people in it. It's not going to be any bigger than that. And so we'll go up to 25 people. But yeah, you guys will see all about that stuff tomorrow, but I'm excited for people that want to get in it and get deep, because that's what it is. Let's handle some more questions. Theta Hedge. Nope, we already talked about that. Yeah, LG and Samsung. You might have a different experience, but I can tell you the LGs and the Samsungs that we've bought. Keep in mind, this is the experience of someone who owns over 600 appliances. 600. I did the math. It was horrible, but I own 600 appliances. So I will probably tell you more of the data that you need to know than any shop is going to tell you, than any sales guy is going to tell you, than any, consumer report review is going to tell you, because this is my actual experience with all these different things. And the people that we have to take care of these things. I can tell you that there was one version of a washing machine that we have 3 of them sitting there right now that are not running. And I had to buy new machines because I was 4 months out from getting a part and they've already back ordered it on me twice. Dion, you had that happen yet?
So I have 74 appliances. I had to do the math in my head really quick.
Nice.
But I don't provide washer dryer. So that's tenant responsibility. However, and I'm going to air quote this, previous tenants left this set behind. If you'd like to use it while you acquire yours, you're welcome to, and then I'll come and pick it up. But I don't maintain them, I don't repair them, and I don't replace them. So I've had probably 2 or 3 times, I know 2 for sure, but there might have been a third, where the tenants used the washer dryer that was there for a couple of months, then got their own, because that way, they don't have that. And there's a question coming up about the move-in cost of how much it costs to rent a place. I don't want them to have to do that and buy a washer dryer to make it easy for move-in. I have that set sitting there, and then that set just goes back to the shed. And if it ever broke, when between tenants, I would get a new one to do the same strategy of, it's not really mine. You can't take it, but you can use it while you live there until you get your set.
So can we can I pull this string a little bit?
Sure.
So, when you have people that then buy their own appliances, do you find, because you pay water and sewer in your buildings, I assume?
I pay sewer.
Okay.
And there's a couple where the water has to be in the owner's name, but then the tenant, I just bill the tenants the same amount. So they pay the water bill. But
so they pay the water bill. Okay. So it doesn't impact.
And so it runs a month in the rear. I go, look, this is what it was. Here's your thing. Right.
Yeah. So we have some of those weird rules too. We don't back bill for water. So water and sewer.
To be transparent, I bill a flat amount.
Yes. Okay.
And then so that there's a few months where I'm getting a little more, but then there's a month in the summer where it balances out, where the water bill goes up.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's why I wanted to ask that question too, was because for us, water sewer is really difficult to separate here or back bill. And so what we do, and there's some rules around it too. So what we actually do is we include water sewer. So obviously we see expenses go up when they have a washer dryer, but what our experience is it was costing us far more in water sewer because people would buy the cheap machines. They'd buy the $500 specials as opposed to the $1,200 energy efficient uses a third as much. So that was our experience. So, if you guys really want to, so I am, as you guys know, I'm a data geek. I look at every little thing in my house. I look at flow valves. I look at square footage. I look at R value. I look at all that crazy stuff because I want to build great product. I want to remodel great product. So one of the very interesting things is I took the current rates that electricity is charging now. I took the typical cheap washer dryer that you would find. So the cheap ones with that center agitator, that goes up and down and spins around. And so that uses about 40 gallons of water. When it was all said and done, I did the math. What was really interesting was a typical load in one of those older agitator washers. This is where 30 people fall asleep. And is those old agitator washers that it actually uses about $4.50 worth of hot water and energy.
So I'll be the first to admit that I think both of us are on a spectrum, but we're on far ends of this spectrum.
we are.
So you went data geek or nerd, whichever
Yeah,
one,
your choice.
which one that works.
I'm not offended
right?
by either.
Okay. I went the other way, kind of like I've never had a budget.
Yeah.
I don't want somebody telling me what to do, and a budget is just me telling me what to do, right? So instead of
Yes.
reducing or eliminating these tiny little things like going to the movies or eating out or anything like that, or dating, I house hack. Get rid of that big expense. Like
Yes.
dating. Get rid of that too. And so there was enough savings happening automatically that I didn't have to worry about the little things. So I kind of watched how much does it on average cost for utilities without thinking good machine, energy conservation, because I'm not about recycling or saving the planet, because what did my kids ever do for me? That's sarcasm. Please pay attention. But what was the average bill? I make sure my tenants are covering that. So I don't care if they get the really good machine or the really bad machine or the really, I wouldn't even know the difference. I actually don't even know the brands of the washer dryer where I live. Like, they're white. That's about the extent of my knowledge of what they are.
Listen, we are on the different ends of the spectrum on this
We
one.
definitely are. Yeah.
Yes. And I appreciate you, my man. I appreciate
I do too. I know if I'm ever going to have a problem where I have to go, okay, data is going to tell me what to do. I'm going to come to you and go, hey, with this data, let's make a video on what you would do. And then I'll sit back and go, here's my answer for free. I didn't even have to pay for this.
Dude, like, it's not lost on me at all that I know that I'm broken because I'm figuring out energy usage and hot water usage of a washer. Like, I get it. But when I go to my 2 or 3 banks, those get nuts, right? Like, they're just like, tell us more. And I was like, okay, I'll tell you more. And it's like, and you can save $1.97 by just clicking this link instead of that link on that particular device. So admittedly, yes, completely broken, but I'm a nerd. I get in the weeds. So I took existing electric rates. I took all of these other factors, the cost of heating that 40 gallons, the amount of usage on the tank and blah, 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 blah. But here's again, what it gets you is you're looking at, $450, $490, depending on what your energy rate is per load of laundry. If you're in a family of 5 or 4, there's going to be at least 4 or 5 loads a week. That's $25 a week. That's $100 a month. And again, this is how it's run. And Rob, sorry to hear that data is irrelevant in your house because you're married.
Also, a lot of tenants aren't aware. So this is something that you can share with them. So I've talked to a lot of them about the energy expense level based on where you live. And so where we are after 10 p.m. at night and all day Sunday, it's like 50% rate. Like, it's a massive difference.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
That's
so
awesome.
If you can tell people, look, if you do your laundry on Sunday, you're going to save a lot of money. It's your money. You might as well do that.
Well, so, and that's the thing, right? Is that people care much more about the things that they're directly, paying for. And so that's why when the eviction that I did, I took out 2 air conditioners and I took out 1 window that was open with a fan in it. Who's not paying for their heat? Raise your hand.
Right, exactly.
So that was, hold on one second. Mrs. Lumberjack text me something.
That's okay.
So
while you're taking care of that, I could share my racist story if you like.
Oh, sweet Lord, Dion. All right.
Because we're on your channel. I can get away with it.
I was just going to say, we never shared this on your channel, but I guess go ahead.
No, I haven't shared this on my channel. I should share this on my channel. So if somebody wants to hear this, it's not even that good of a story. It's just, it's in my head that.
That it has to be shared. Let's scratch that itch, Dion.
So it's all about perception. When you're getting your information, like I watch Javier Vidana, this, I think I got his name wrong even. He's an agent in Arizona. He's the one who was giving really bad advice today. Like, I actually was frustrated, and I normally make a, like we get random comment in support of the algorithm kind of thing. But this time I was kind of attacking him in the comments saying, hey, you're actually giving really bad advice. So we should do a video reacting to that one, because it was the worst advice. It was how a real estate agent would talk, and it lets you know they're an agent and not an investor. So I'm not going to share the racist story on your channel. That's okay. I don't want to demonetize you. Dear God.
Oh my word. You got me all like, what is he going to say? What is he going to say?
How bad is it?
Yeah. I think everybody was kind of sitting on the edge of their seat going, All right. I got my finger on the unsubscribe button.
I know that's the biggest fear.
Jeff, oh wait, sorry. T, not a landlord yet in prep mode. T, that's what it's all about. Prep. What paint brand do you recommend as well as mid-range durable LVP? So paint brand that I've used Bear. It's the reason that they use the terminology bestseller is because it's the easiest to buy. And that's where DIYers walk into Home Depot and go, I need paint. And they don't see the difference between a $35 paint and a $55 paint. They think that it's all the same. I can tell you from experience and talking to my painters, these guys that are painters, they aren't like, hey, I paint on the weekends. They're like, hey, I run an entire company of painters and I've been painting for 25 years. So I always have them try out stuff on units and say, hey, what are we feeling? What do you like? The other thing too is that how many times that company makes a mistake when making the paint, picking the wrong sheen because the person can't read low sheen, things like that. But the paint that I like to use is Benjamin Moore. I've used Sherwin-Williams, but I think Sherwin-Williams is too expensive compared to Benjamin Moore. So I like Benjamin Moore products. I get a big discount on them because of how much of it I buy, but it's good quality product. My painters always tell me that it gives me the best coverage. So they spend less time there. So then they have said, hey, we can do your units faster. So we've adjusted price. So that's what they typically use. Dion, do you have any preference? You don't have a preference on paint?
So I go Sherwin-Williams.
Okay. Good product.
Right. I very beginning first couple of projects, I went to Lowe's and Home Depot, and almost every type of paint that I used there, their top end paint was the equivalent of Sherwin-Williams bottom end paint. As far as so lazy guy.
Yeah.
In the beginning, I would do my painting. Like and recently I actually painted a ceiling. So yes, I still do the painting. I like one coat.
Yes.
Go in, get it done, even with a big color change. And with the Lowe's and Home Depot stuff, I didn't really have luck with one to paint. It might have been one, and then one wall would need like I don't know, the center redone or something. But pretty much Sherwin-Williams. Ask, at the time, I don't keep it memorized, but I go to the counter and I'm like, okay, so this is a kitchen or a bathroom, so I want it to be able to handle moisture. This is interior, exterior, so ask the basic questions. And just like buying cheap properties, you can go broke. Buying cheap paint, you can go broke because you're going to be doing it again.
Yeah, I think so. Sherwin's what we use. The other Benjamin Moore is what we use. We used Sherwin. We used to use Sherwin in the past, but just cost wise, we looked at it. And we said, if we're getting better end result, if we're getting better pricing on our jobs from it. But yeah, we kind of went through that paint analysis probably 3 years ago is when we did it. Yeah, 3. And the other thing too is that what I found with Sherwin as well was because they are so contractor centric that a lot of times they're working on this big order and they're like, yeah, I can get to it, but it's going to be a little bit, and so it was like, oh man, because, and admittedly, like they've got a job going out before me when I was a smaller landlord, and they're just like, yeah, we've got, 10 5 gallons of this and 4 or 5 gallons of that. And that's an order that's going to take them an hour to pull and mix. And it's like, and they're only one person. You're like, yeah, but I just have some questions about the paint. Like, I get it. Like they're definitely more contractor focused in my eyes. But ML, hello, is the standard for move in first, last month and security? Is there a difference when dealing with B or C neighborhoods? Dean, I'm going to let you answer and I'm going to go off camera for just a second because this isn't an OnlyFans channel.
That depends on what you come back wearing. So I'm all in class C. I have one class C plus, maybe B minus. So there may be a difference. That might be a question for Matt to follow up with. I'll ask when he comes back, if I remember, because I have memory issues. But I charge first month's rent and prorate any days before the start of the lease, if they're moving in sooner, and try not to be real restrictive on that, because it's really hard for the tenant to end where they're living on the 31st and move in on the 1st, because that literally is no time to move. So they'll often prorate 1 or 2 or 3 days from the lease start and just pay per the day. First month's rent. Security deposit, I make sure that the deposit is different than the rent, and that the lease termination fee is different than the deposit and the rent, so that these are very clearly differentiated on the lease, that they're not the same amount, so no payment can be made that can be said, that was the other thing. And then I do not charge last month's rent because this puts in the mind of the tenant, I have a free month's rent. It's already paid as long as I don't renew and move. So some tenants have this mental motivation to move at the end of their lease because they think that month's taken care of. And then if you look at it, I don't look at income, I look at credit score. And so a lot of people with really great credit don't make a lot of money. They just are good with money. My credit score is usually around 800 or so, even when I was making 17, 18 bucks an hour. So it was pretty easy to do that. But coming up with security, first, last, pet, moving cost, utility changes, like all of that all at once is 7 to 10 grand. So take out that last month and you put the average person in 5 to 7 grand, 5 to 8 grand. A little more doable to move into your rental.
Yeah.
And then is there a
yeah.
big difference between B and C? That's the one thing I don't know.
Yeah. So I think so that all of my stuff that I own is B and C. There's really not a biggest difference between B and C because it's really about location and finish is really what the difference between B and C is. In my eyes, so it's going to be location, like it's going to be like more of a downtown city type, that's really nice, granite countertops, custom cabinets, refinished, 100-year-old floors. There's no difference between that and moving somebody into a smaller one that's kind of, 10 minutes outside the city and carpet. There's really no difference there except for, what the condition is of the unit itself. As far as security deposit goes, we do security in first month's rent. In our state, collecting last month's rent is illegal. You cannot collect last month's rent in our state. It's illegal. And then to Dion's point, on the deposit piece, in our state, your deposit can only be equal to a month's rent or less. It cannot be more. So you can't charge a $2,500 deposit when the rent is only $2,000. You can charge a $1,500 a month deposit if the rent's $2,000. So the
do you get a variance if somebody comes to you and says, I have a really bad credit score, or I don't meet your income standard, but I would do a larger deposit? So you can't do that there?
Can't.
Okay.
Can't take the larger deposit. And the other thing that a lot of landlords don't know about too is if they pay 6 months in advance, that's actually a problem too. With how that rental contract is looked at, that's actually a problem. So we don't take it in advance because it can leave you open to having to return a lot more than the value of the security deposit. So yeah, that can be a problem. So hopefully that answers your questions, ML. Anna K, I didn't miss you. I missed you, but I didn't miss you. John, Merry Christmas. Boris, good morning. Actually, it's good afternoon. I think he's in Croatia. Very cool. John Peterman, I don't provide any appliances. Life is good. Yeah. Yeah. I think that's one of the interesting things is that's really kind of area dependent. So we tried to go down that road of not providing appliances. And we were the only landlord in the 3 towns that we were in that didn't provide appliances. So you really have to, this is where local knowledge is really important. Our buddy Millennial Mike, he doesn't include appliances because in Gary, Indiana, people take their appliances with them and move them in and move them out. So he doesn't have to provide that, which is really nice because a typical appliance package for us in an apartment, washer, dryer, fridge, stove, microwave, and dishwasher. That's typically a $6,000 package that we'll put in, or a $7,000 package. We're actually putting in a pretty nice package, not a cheap one.
Yeah. So I do the dishwasher, the refrigerator, and the range. I don't do microwave. I don't do washer dryer. The main reason I do dishwasher is because I want there to be a dishwasher. It helps limit tenant turnover as well.
Agreed.
But installation of that by a tenant isn't something I would want my floors to be. Now I can handle, it's a hose behind a washer and a dryer, but
right.
The electric and all that stuff going with the dishwasher, I want that done by my team.
Yep. And disconnects and all that other stuff. Another thing too, Dion, on the dishwasher side, I'm kind of scared to ask you this question. Do you look at the decibel level of the dishwasher? Damn it, I knew that was going to be the answer. So
no.
Dion's sitting there going,
what the heck
how's
is
it
that?
going? Do you love living here? Is it awesome?
Yes.
Dion.
So I was a tow gunner in the Marines. It's almost like being a mortarman. We don't care about hearing.
Yeah.
Everything
Where would
has
you say it works? Artillery.
Right.
Yeah, dude, you've got to look at the DB level on those things, man. Come on. Oh, so for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, the way that you can typically value a washer dryer up and down the chain, typically where you can value that is based on how quiet it is. The more quiet that it is, the more expensive that it is. And so for the longest time, everyone knows when we were all growing up, you heard those dishwashers and it was like, is the dishwasher on? You don't need to ask. You can hear it upstairs, and so the thing would just crank, but it was wicked, wicked loud. And so now they've, over the last 5 years, they've been able to bring them sub 50 decibels, which means that here's the funny one. I have one that I literally have to walk around the corner and look to make sure that's actually on. And so that's a lot of the stuff in the 40 decibel level. But when you're buying a dishwasher, usually what you're looking for is you're looking for the lowest decibel level compared to the price. Go ahead, Dion. I know that I'm almost putting you to sleep with some of this stuff.
No, I was looking at some comments.
Okay, well, let's hit it.
Basilio down there with his New Year's resolution of owning some multifamily, because right now he has single family and would love to scale up at this point. And I was kind of laughing because I have almost all small multifamily and I'd like to own a single family or two more. I don't know why, but just some weird thing. It's got to yield. That's why I don't so far. I mean, have one I got before I was an investor. Yeah. So I think you're going to do it, Basilio.
Marina, hello. Cozy and 28 degrees out in Washington. Morning, guys. Morning, Marina. Marina just closed on her first duplex yesterday. Good job, Marina. And now.
So now, Marina, you need to you'll be contacted by Lakewood, the one city that, because it's where you've closed, that has a rent in Washington, a rent center. They're going to charge you $12 a year to have a rental per unit. So each side. And then they're going to send out a 19-year-old uneducated. I mean, it's not that they're 19 is the problem. It's that they're uneducated and untrained inspector to look at your property and tell you that your soffit color has to be the same on different sides of the building and that you can't have a Disney princess light switch cover because it's different than the rest. So good luck with that. Great town, though. You have every economic driver you can want within 20 minutes. So great place to own a rental.
Well, when the inspector shows up and he sees someone really pretty like us, we're not getting any breaks. I can tell you that Ashley, when she shows up, because I literally sent her, I was like, I just need you to do this inspection. She goes, why? I go, this particular inspector doesn't like me. He's really
so I'm not going to say that Marina's not pretty or pretty or not pretty. I'm going to say have Millennial Mike there so that we know that they're going to see at least a pretty guy hanging out.
It's sweet, Lord. I'm telling you, Ashley went and she got like one thing on the list. And I was like, you're going to all of them now. She goes, but I feel uncomfortable because I can't answer the questions. I go, I think they feel uncomfortable and they're too afraid to ask you. So whatever. I want out of that thing with as few silly things on the list. Because if it's a real safety thing, of course they're going to mention it. It's the stupid stuff that falls off the list. Crazy. Basilio Alcantara. Hello, my people. Happy Friday. Happy Friday to you. Boris, Happy New Year. This is a great channel. I think so too, Boris. Thank you for your input. I think so too. If it wasn't great, like literally, if we had people always showing up, like they wouldn't show up. Like that's kind of the point. Kind of the point. We like hanging out with each other. Phil Nealon. Oh my goodness. The geekiness of the washer analysis is amazing. Phil, my man, I knew you'd feel me on that. I knew it. Can we pump these numbers? Yeah, Boris, we can totally pump the numbers. That's up to you guys, though. Dion and I are just staying awesome. Let's see. Stephen, hey, everyone. Dennis O'Brien, why would you provide appliances in your rentals? Wouldn't it be better to give the responsibility to the tenants? It would, but you just have to know your market. Like I said, we were 1 out of 100 landlords that didn't provide appliances. So we would get great tenants, but then we're like, oh, you don't have appliances? And they didn't have appliances. So it was kind of like I would lose great tenants because and literally we tried the strategy for like 60 days and I was like, this sucks. It's not working. We're going back to.
Yeah. So if somebody had my size portfolio in your market, I would do the strategy of, oh, the previous tenants left this fridge and this washer and dryer. But when you have 100 and something units, no, that's not viable.
Nope. So. Yeah, it's definitely not. Jeff M. at Dennis, it seems like if you do, you can lure people in with much higher monthly rate. I think so. I think it's really much more about the market. What is expected there? You have to look at what your competition's doing. That's one of the things that makes me an amazing operator. I know what my competition's doing in this market. I know what they're charging because of my rent box. I know what their amenities are because of my rent box. I know what their, the thing that they're touting about their unit because of my rent box. And so when you're actually tracking what your competition is doing because you have units that are about to hit the market, guess what? You know as much, but they're not looking at me for that. And that's awesome. It means I better price my unit. It means that mine is going to go before theirs. And it means that I'm going to get the better tenant saying yes to me because I know what else is out there in the market and I can talk up the certain things about my units. But also recognize that, hey, if somebody's like this, and this are really important to me, and I know that my competition has that, I'm probably not even going to give you a follow-up call because it's not worth my time. Like as soon as you see that other one, when you're shopping for an apartment, you're not like, yep, that one. But we also care more about like our pictures that we post. So we post much nicer pictures than these other folks. It's just, I think, a smarter approach. I hoop Hardy. Hey, Lumberjack. Hi. And Dion too. Yeah. When communicating with your real estate agent, how long is too long when waiting for a response through text? I texted my agent around 10 a.m. and they responded at 6 p.m. Dion?
There can be a valid reason for that. Were they in training? Were they on vacation? Were they whatever? I would clearly communicate to them that, look, I expect an answer within 2 hours. And if I don't get it, I'm probably moving to my next agent.
Yeah. Yep. I give them a couple shots, but if you start to see it, and here's the thing, you gotta hoop up, right? You gotta just have the conversation with them and say, hey, here's the deal. I need to understand what you think is a reasonable time frame to get back to me on something, because if I find something that's just gone on the market, I want to be in there first. I want to see it first. I want to walk it first. And I'm willing to drop everything to do that. I just need to understand if that's something that you can do. If it is, great, I'd love to stay with you. If not, I just want to make sure up front that it's probably not a good fit for me. My agents know I'm insane. They know that if something, for some reason, some other agent posted at 10 p.m., which happens on MLS Live sometimes, they'll post it at 10 p.m. When they do, guess what happens? I jump and I'm like, hey, I want to go see this if it's something I want to go see.
Well,
James J, thanks for the super chat.
The thing that's important with your agents, with your lenders, with the other investors, with your tenants, is that you're honorable and you do what you say you're going to do.
Right.
Which means if you can't wait longer than 2 hours for a message, be transparent. Tell your agent, I understand this can happen, but if it happens more often than not, I'm going to be going to my next agent, and then do that. Like holding firm to your dissatisfaction agenda would be the same to me as actually everybody always says, do what you say you're going to do. Goes with the bad stuff too.
Yeah, for sure. Yep. It's just, and here's the thing. If you want someone to treat you like gold, treat them like gold. Like literally tell the agent, if you better never get them to walk you a deal and then you bag on them, that unless there is something that they did that cost you that deal. I was helping somebody out. They had an agent that was completely effing up the deal. And I said, I had a call with the agent. He's just like, you don't understand. I was like, bro, you've been selling houses for like 4 minutes. You're out of your depth. And so I just told the guy that I was helping, I said, I can't use him anymore. I want you to win this house. And I said, so, you need to go to a different one. You need to go to a different broker. He hadn't signed an exclusivity agreement with him. And so I moved him over to a broker that I knew could take care of him. He won the deal because of me and the broker, and he actually bought it for $12,000 less. That's how bad of an agent this guy was. And he was new, but that's just the dilly.
There was an agent I worked with that was brand new. Like I got my thing yesterday, and here's the thing. He was at a great brokerage.
Yeah.
He had that guardian angel that came over and like listened to every conversation, kind of told him what to say to me. Like they told me, look, guy's new, but you're working with him. Here's the team that backs up the new guy.
Yep.
And I was like, and so now I'm on my 4th deal with that guy. He's no longer new. And he's got like 9 rentals. Like, so just because they're new doesn't mean it's a no deal, but look at the team they have.
Yes. Look at the team they have behind them, but also look at how they're interacting with you. Like if they're not interacting with you very well, how do you think they're handling working with the other agent? Guys, they're supposed to be deal makers. That's what they're supposed to be. They're supposed to carry the message, especially for a seasoned investor like me. But for a new investor, they have to be able to tell you the right way to win this deal and make sure that you understand, hey, listen, you can pay this, you can do this, you can use an escalator, you can make this happen. You can do all of that stuff. The issue is that new reps, right, they're not going to know that. But if they have a great team behind them, not a problem. But I've seen plenty of companies with these newer reps, and they're just basically like, yep, make phone calls. Yep, create opportunity this way. And then when they're working on a deal, it's like they don't know what to do with it and they don't have the right support behind them. So definitely, to Dion's point, watch for that for sure. Invest well. Hi, Matt. The wall behind you looks very nice. Thank you very much. Those are Matchbox cars from when I was a kid. I like old stuff like that. It's fun. What color is that? Interesting. You should ask. That is my standard color that I use in all of my apartments. It's called Stone Harbor Gray, made by Benjamin Moore. Love the color. It's spectacular. Stone Harbor Gray. Yes, indeed. Man, is it good too. It's a pretty color. But thank you for saying. ML, thank you. You're welcome, ML. Cinda Murphy. Sorry. What does that sign behind you say? This one right there that says, it's not over when you lose, it's over when you quit. Yeah, I like to fight. So I've had plenty of things in my life not go my way. And I've never lost because I won't quit. I've not gotten the desired result, but I won't quit. I just keep on going, keep on pushing, keep on doing the best I can. Robert Northam, in California, we can get last month's rent. You can't get last month's rent in California. I don't know how that works. Can't get. Yeah, that's what he says. Okay. Yeah, every state does it differently. But to Dion's point, even if I could get last month's, I think New York does first and last into security. I wouldn't do that. I mean, holy cow. Like you said, Dion, that's like 8 or, I mean, here's the thing. If the barrier of exit is that big, or barrier of entry somewhere else is that big, like maybe that slows you down from renting. I don't know. Thankfully, it's not something I have to consider. Francis McMillan, back east, I use Benjamin Moore. Out here in California, I use Kelly Moore. I have noticed over the last 30 years, paint quality has deteriorated. Yep, even with a 3/4 nap, it's difficult at best for one coat coverage. Yeah, Benjamin Moore has been pretty good in that regard. Have you ever used Kelly Moore paint, Dion? No,
I don't think so.
What is Kelly Moore? Is that like a chain or something out there?
It's not something I'm familiar with.
Okay.
So,
all right. So it's a California.
Again, it's a paint brand. I go into Sherwin-Williams and keep it really simple.
I got it.
Because it's just like you can, as a contractor, the other ones, you go in and I say the name of the rental. They have it recorded. This is the colors you used the last time you bought for that rental. So yeah, again, not something I commit to memory.
That's one of the things I teach in my course, how to make sure that your business becomes repeatable. Because I can get units up and transitioned very quickly. MK, hello, good morning. Hello, MK, and good morning. Dennis O'Brien to Jeff, that makes sense. I got to put everything in because I'm doing MTR. Yep, midterm rentals. Yep, you do. Faux show. All-nighter hider, LOL. Hardwood bear. I'm a hardwood guy. I love it. And I've never had to reduce hardwood floor because the electrical was wrong. But things with water hookup, i.e. dishwasher, fridge, destroy floors. Yeah, exactly. Totally agree. And that's, I think, what Dion was getting to as well, is somebody else hooking up the water line as an example. Because a lot of times, sometimes that's a separate line. Sometimes it's something called a crimp line. I've never
really had
a fridge.
Problems with dishwashers with the water source. It was the drain. The drain line was always the problem.
Yes, agreed. Jay Smith, do you know if Michael Zuber will start a cheaper course? No. I know that he won't.
He's got the $99 one. Get your money right.
Yep.
Then the 320 is going to $399 in like days.
Yep.
I jumped on now, Jay. The other day. It's worth thousands and he's charging hundreds.
I agree. Yep, I agree with that. I mean, if you looked at the other courses out there, you'd see that he's cheap. You know, we looked at, I don't know, 7 or 8 courses that we thought gave as much value as our course. And The cheapest one we looked at was 5,000 and we wanted to be significantly less than that. So we are significantly less than that. Dion,
What did you think of the video the other day where I said how much it costs for an hour of my time?
The taxable event at $5,000?
That's why the giveaway is 55 minutes.
It's 55 minutes.
Right? Thanks for that.
Yes.
There you go.
That's awesome. I love it. Springer already to DB levels. Dion says, not today. Yes, he did. He said, not today. That's true. Rob, Mike's pretty. Yeah, he is. Mike is very pretty. Yep, he was. My daughter, Eliana, every single time he came around, she would dance. She's only 19 months, but whatever. She would still like dance in a circle for him. Anna K, Marina, go get the inspector. That's right. You got this in Lakewood. Go get him, Marina. MK, I have a rental I bought cash for 170K. Getting $1,550 per month for it. I missed out on refinancing it. What should I do? I want to get more rentals. Dion.
So diverging opinions. With your strategy, you can recycle capital, home equity line of credit, second refinance, so you don't touch the current interest rate. Then there's the very boring way that you're probably not going to want to hear, the way that worked for me. Add the cash flow from that rental to your savings rate. Increase your income at work. Develop side hustles. Decrease your expenses. Save a down payment. It might take a year, 2 years to get the down payment. And if you don't want to wait that long, do another house hack in a year. But my first few years, it was 2 years between purchases. First 2 purchases was 2 years between. And then it starts to speed up because you keep adding the cash flow. So I recycled cash flow instead of capital. Every time a new rental started producing money, that money just went to the savings.
Yeah, I agree with that. MK, I'm a noob. Happy to have you here. We love people that are in the game or doing the work to get in the game. So there's kind of 3 layers, right? There's the person that says, I really want to be a landlord. I need to keep on doing the work, train myself, understand what I got to do to get in the game. Then there's the people that finally get in the game and then they're like, hey, I need to get better at this. I want to continue this. I want to blow this up. I want to do as much money as I possibly can to make work optional. And then there's the next tier down, which is like, hey, now I'm Dion. I've made life optional. And I'm doing it in the laziest way I possibly can.
Yeah, I think there could be a show on how lazy can you possibly be. I like Michael Zuber's analogy of the stadium. There are people in the parking lot that aren't going to get in the stadium. They are, the crash is coming. I'm going to wait for rates to drop. I'm going to wait for prices to drop. I'm going to wait for more market stability. I'm going to, whatever they're waiting for, they're out there. So they're booing anybody taking action. Then there's the people in the stands who are self-educating and saying, I want to get into this. I know that there's a path here for me. It's somewhere on the field. And then there's the people on the field where MK, you're saying you're a noob, but you have a rental. You're cash flowing. You are on the field playing the game. Now you've got to figure out what strategy is going to take you across the whole gridiron to get to where you're wanting to be.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. I think, yeah, I mean, the analogy that I've always thought is, there's people that paid enough for a ticket to get in and make noise. And every great player since the dawn of time has had a bad game. And at the end of the day, they think they know more about the sport. They think they know more about the game. They think they know more about strategy, based on what? So I don't really listen to the people in the stands all that much. I want people that are in the game or are actually investing in themselves to get in the game. I'm not here to convince anybody to be a landlord. You know what? Go invest in daffodils. I don't care. But if you want to talk about real estate, I probably know more than most. And
are you a history buff? Are you familiar with the tulip?
Of course.
Tulip mania? Okay.
Of course. Yeah. Do you want to talk about tulip mania?
No, you said daffodil and I was like, oh, tulips, come on.
See, I should have picked a different flower. For those of you who don't know the history around tulip mania, look it up. It's incredible. There were people that were actually trading houses for tulips. And then they had an amazing season of tulips growing and the market collapsed.
I have flowers here that I can get for you.
Uh-oh.
That you would actually appreciate.
Oh no.
Oh no.
Are they bullet flowers?
Yes. From bulletbouquet.com. I'll put a link in the description below. So it's 9 males exploded out and they're in the all 22 caliber, soil.
I knew it had to be something like that. That's awesome. How predictable am I and how predictable is Dion?
Right, exactly.
He knows that I would like that. And the fact is, I would like that. So it kind of makes sense. What are some good points to being a good operator? I think the most important thing is doing the work, getting your rental, and then taking care of the tenants, taking care of the property. I think that the syllabus that I have coming out tomorrow, I think will explain all that. Because really the main areas that I focus are, what market, buying it right. It's amazing today. I've had like 9 phone calls from this one person and they keep on calling me from different numbers. I'm not going to pick up. But yeah, I think that there's a lot of things to it. I think that, some of the more important points are, understanding, what you want to do in the rental. Like, do you want to be the fix-it guy? Do you want to be calling a property manager? Do you want to be building a team to call that person? It really is kind of defining what you want to be, and then recognizing that Dion's one of my favorite Dion quotes is, you're better off spending $20,000 buying a rental and making a bunch of mistakes than you are spending $20,000 on a course that you might not be able to really truly implement the right way, or isn't that good. Did I get that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So might not be the course for you. Might not be the information you need.
Yeah. One of so for me, there's 1,000 courses out there that teach you how to buy rentals. Some of them are really good. I have my favorites. Some of them aren't very good, but I can tell you that there aren't any courses out there that really show you how to properly manage and be an operator, owning your business and running your business. And there's a lot of perks to that. I get to better control costs. I get to better control outcomes. I get to better control tenants. I get to better control pretty much everything. And so I think that a lot of people would start off and say, this is the way I'm going to do it. And then after a couple of rentals, you might say, yeah, I suck at this. I'm not really good at it. Just be honest with yourself and say, I need to start outsourcing this to a property manager. However, people quickly make the jump to property manager instead of building a team. And in building a team, you can actually get the same effect of a property manager just by building a team the right way. That's one of the things that I teach actually in my course.
So for me, there are 3 things when it comes to being a good operator. And it might be different because of the goal. My goal wasn't to build a big business that would scale on its own. My goal was financial freedom, the least amount of units for the most amount of cash flow. So I wasn't looking to, develop a huge business, which I've ran a business for the last 13 years, right? But you need to run it like a business, and that starts with these 3 things. The first thing is this sentence: treat your tenants like you only have one and your properties like you have 100. So you're going to have systems in place to make the tenant feel like they're the only one and they're important, and systems in place whether you have 1 rental or 100 to where you can handle all of your things like handyman, contractors, how you build, your platform that you use, all of those things. So treat your properties like you have 100, even when you only have 1. The second thing is you can make this as complicated or as simple as you want to. You can go through with spreadsheets and property management and LLCs and entity, subcategories and a bank account for each property. And like I said, you can make this as complicated as you want to. My entire business breaks down to the entire business: 1 checking account, 1 saving account, 1 credit card, 1 Excel spreadsheet with a tab for income and a tab for expenses. Like, that's the entire thing. Figure out if you like complicated, if you like the data, if you like the spreadsheets, if you like that kind of control to where you can perform different queries with your information to find out things that might matter to you that just don't matter to me. And the third thing to being a good operator is run it like a business.
Yeah.
A business advertises, has a standard operating procedure manual, has like everything about it is a business. And that's what most of us, myself included, do wrong our first few years. With a business, especially in real estate, it sucks. If a lot of people become a realtor or anything, and they try to monetize their friendships. Like you see in the Facebook posts all the time of an ager setting up a meme complaining about their friend using a different agent. You shouldn't be trying to make money off of your friends. You should be trying to save your friends money, have them get a better deal. So in the beginning, as a new landlord, most of us will want to rent to someone we know, because who can trust a stranger? But a business does better when they're appealing their product to strangers. Like it's a bigger market of people than the people that you know. So that's the three things. The third thing, that one, run it like a business, is huge. From day one, run it like a business. Have a plan, structure it, and then fall back on make it as simple or as complex as you want. For me, I think my system is too complex. It could be simpler.
I didn't want to say anything because you're really good at being lazy. So I didn't want to say how complex it was.
Exactly.
Amafid 199. Thank you for the super chat, Amafid. Believe it or not, when you guys even do those little super chats of $1 or $1.99, it actually, we see a bump quickly of like 10 more people watching, because it suggests the video out to more people. So we really appreciate that stuff. I hoop, you're very welcome. REI Stoners, hello landlords. All-nighter hider fortitude, you know it, my man. Rob, if Gavin Newsom became governor of Washington, Dion would move.
There was a question that I think we went past, with both of us being operators.
Yep.
What would it take for us to established?
Yeah.
What would it take you to move to a new market?
No, not unless I live there. Not unless I live there a certain amount of time. Just not interested. Largely just not interested. Like, I picked the area that I picked. I put a ton of time into picking that area, but then I spent 20 years building a company in the area. And so for me, I largely just don't have interest. Like, once you get kind of your roots down, if I had, I don't think it's ever for me. I mean, I might do something in another market eventually, but it would probably only be something that was, I don't know. It'd be different. Dion, I know that you're considering it.
So I've looked at other markets when I had a W-2 that was looking at, I don't know if I put this in videos, but I really dedicated my life to the company, right?
Yes.
I would have moved anywhere. I worked, 50 to 60 at least hours a week. I was available 24 hours a day. My goal was, and I'm not an entrepreneur, so I wouldn't have done this if I owned the company, but the owners had given me such a chance. My goal was to grow it as big as I could for them. So when we were looking at putting campuses in other states, I looked in Arizona, where we were considering a campus. Then I looked in Twin Falls, where we did put a campus. And now that I don't have the job, I'm not really looking at doing that. But I do like the idea of snowbirding. So you're looking at buying a place in Vegas that you go to when the life aspect is right, whether it's weather, school, whatever, to be there. Yes. So you might short-term rental it, midterm rental it, or you might just mothball it when you're not there. Sure. So that's us looking at another market. I don't know that it would be Vegas. I might look at Vegas depending on the deal that I find. But I'm a water guy. Yeah. I live in the Puget Sound. Like I'm 2 blocks from basically the beach and, a movie theater and a zoo and like everything I want. I can walk to everything right around here. So if I moved somewhere to another market where I was going to be where I was living, it's going to be on the water somewhere. And that doesn't mean ocean. It could be lake somewhere. So it would be depending on where I moved, because I do invest locally. I am looking at an added distance partnership deal where it's not really me. It's somebody who I respect for the way that they're investing, and they found a good deal. So it makes sense. So, but political change in Washington, the Gavin Newsom thing, I think our governor's worse. But luckily the insanity is concentrated into one county. The rest of the counties aren't that insane yet. And in that county, there's one city that's even more insane than that. That's where his impacts are happening, where last year, that city lost 3,000 long-term rentals because of the rules and restrictions being so stupid, not just dumb. I mean, really stupid. If that spread to the entire state, that might do it. So political change could do it. I'm not sure about that though. I think it's hey Jeff M, I just saw this. You've learned a lot. You're doing the right thing though, because I know that you're still learning, but you haven't pulled the trigger yet because you haven't found the right deal yet, and that's good.
That's good. That's a great thing. So sorry, I just saw that when I was scrolling back up. But Jordan Smith, I've been having trouble hearing back from seller's agents. Very frustrating. I like going direct to the seller's agent if I can. So you're probably saying buyer's agent. My guess is their calendar is going to be quite a bit more open in the next 60 to 90 days. But if not, certainly go back and yeah, seller's agent is definitely the way to go. If you know kind of what you're doing and what you want to do. I think that there are some people that don't do a great job of what's called repping both sides of the deal. There's other ones that do a pretty good job, or sometimes they'll even bring in another party from their brokerage. And so I've seen that, but yeah, I've got one of my guys, he's actually repped me in a deal against another one of his buyers. So we were both going for the same property and he's like, do you want me to disqualify myself? I was like, nah, it's fine. I trust him. I trust him immensely. And I said, just know that I'm going to kill you if I don't get the deal.
So Jordan, the question would be, and I don't want to say this in a non-insulting way, right? And so I mean this like I'm trying to help. Are you having trouble getting a response from the agent? Or are you having trouble presenting an offer that makes the agent want to respond to you?
Could be that. Mm-hmm.
It's not price always. It's not always ability to close. It's something matters to that agent and the seller that will make them want to talk to you, that you can solve the problem, but you don't know what to talk about until you use Matt's strategy of finding out the things that matter to the seller. So has it been on the market a long time? Are you making low offers? Are you not getting a response because the seller said, look, I'm firm, I'm not taking anything less. And if I'll just pull it off after a while, that might not be the person who's going to respond to you. Is it a new listing where they're inundated with offers and you're not realizing how many are still over asking, waiving contingencies, all cash? That's still happening in my market. So if your offer isn't attractive, they're not going to answer.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I think that's good. I Who Party, you're welcome. REI Stoners, hello. All-Nighter Hider Fortitude, Jeff M. The more I learn from you guys every day, the more humbly I realize that I don't know, you know what, about real estate, and makes me want to wait and keep learning before I jump in and seemingly blind. So Jeff M, real quickly, so not to go on a rant, but here's what I would tell you. This is what guys like me and Dion 12 years, me 22 years. This is why we get so annoyed at those posers on YouTube. They just don't know what they're talking about. They've not been investors. They've not bought anything but their single family home or sold a single family home. This is the problem that we have with realtors and mortgage brokers having opinions on the market and investment. Their world is crumbled. They're down 30, 40, 50% from where they were. But they aren't investors. They don't know how to invest. They don't know how to evaluate a property. They don't know even how to evaluate a property with the fact that one very simple thing. I'm still not seeing anybody talking about the fact that while prices might be going down, there was a post yesterday that I saw on YouTube and it said, I wish I never listened to Dave Ramsey. He told me I should buy and I bought it and my house is down $100,000. And he bought in April, which means that he probably got a rate around 3.5, and right now the rate is 6.25. He couldn't buy the same house. While the price is down, that's fine. But everyone needs to realize the pricing and the value of a house is largely inconsequential. It's much more about the payment that you can afford. And if you're an investor, it's the payment that you can afford minus the rents that you have coming in the door. This is how the math is done. So when you have all these real estate agents that aren't investors or don't work with investors or teach new real estate agents, I can tell you there's a reason why we largely flush 80% or 85% of the agents that are out there. They're useless because they don't know what an investor knows, and they can't even run the math properly to help you understand this property over here is a better value. It's all about the emotional thing. So 80 to 85% of agents are going to have a really, really, really hard time in the next 2 years because they don't really add a whole lot of value other than professional home tourers. Dion?
That was my problem with Javier Vidana. I watch his stuff. I like listening to him, but he's an agent, not an investor. And I'm going to be making a video, but here's the Cliff Notes version. he was kind of reacting to Dave Ramsey, same thing, saying, Dave Ramsey was wrong. So Dave Ramsey for the last 2 years said there wasn't going to be a crash. There hasn't been a crash. So obviously Dave Ramsey's wrong. And then you're right, that person, $100,000 variance, but interest rates are up so much. If they bought it now, it would be costing them more. They couldn't probably qualify.
They couldn't
with
qualify.
all of the barriers that are put in there, right? But Javier was saying, Dave Ramsey said the market's fine, except for in a couple of cities like Seattle and LA and whatever. And so Javier looked up like Albuquerque or somewhere. It was Arkansas or something. It's like some more rural than Seattle or New York. And he said, he looked at list price, because this is how an agent would think. This list price went for something and then it sold for more. So housing prices are going up. He literally used a sentence. It sold for more than list price, so housing prices are going up. And then he looked at another one that was like listed for 280 and sold for 270 or something like that. I think the number's probably wrong, but it was the same idea. And he goes, this one went for less than list price, so prices are going down. Do you see why we don't want to get information on investing from a non-investor?
Right.
Because the list price is wish list.
Exactly.
It's sometimes an agent will list it low to create the shark frenzy to get a bidding war going. And sometimes they'll list it high because that's the only number that the seller would list it for, thinking they're going to get it. And now once they've listed it, they've got the sunk cost of, I've spent the agent's time, got an offer coming in, it's a little lower, I might as well. And there's a whole psychology to all of that. But really what matters is, what did that property or a property like it sell for this time last year? Because month on month doesn't mean anything either, because at certain times of the year prices go up, certain times of the year prices go down. But year over year, did it cost more or less? And that can tell you if prices are trending up or trending down.
Right. And again, payment trending up or trending down.
Exactly.
That's what I'm looking at as an investor. If you show me a house at $200,000 at an 18% mortgage, but it has a 40% return on my capital, would I rather buy that or something that was $1 million with a 5% mortgage, but for some reason it only had an 8% return on my capital? Guys, it's about the return. And when you're buying a house for yourself, it's largely about the payment and how long you're going to be there. For someone to sit there and evaluate and say that Dave Ramsey doesn't get it and that Dave Ramsey sucks for that reason is looking at it completely the wrong way. Who looks at having to sell their house in 6 months and the fact that it's down to $100,000? What's the current payment, even if it was down $100,000? What's the current payment? It's twice what you're paying now anyway. And you got into a house. And if you're not selling in 6 months, if you weren't sure where you were going to be in 6 months, then why on God's green earth would you buy a house? That's the definition of should be a renter. So that's why Dion and I get so verklempt around these agents, because they don't know what they're talking about. They've never, ever, 90% of agents don't own investment property. That's the number that blows my mind out of all the statistics I've ever seen. You have an inside track. You're talking to the seller before anybody else does, and you can't determine, and you don't know the math to figure out that that can make you money. Some of the richest people I know are people that were agents that got into rentals that now have a ton of rentals. And they're like, I don't care if my number goes to half. I'm a practicing agent because I have some people that buy just a regular everyday Joe house. But when I get an opportunity on a multifamily, I see it first.
It's literally why Graham Stephan got rentals. He was a starting out agent. He said, my income is inconsistent. I can go 6 months with nothing and then make 60 grand. But if I get rentals, there's something coming in every month so that I can actually pursue the deals. So there are some agents I would listen to because they've owned rentals. Yeah. There are some agents that will give you great agent advice and first-time home buyer advice because they deal with somebody who bought their first house and talks to them a year later. And they're dealing with the emotional aspects of it. Yeah. Be careful where you get your investing advice from.
That's right. People think it's eureka when the agent actually says, well, the reason pricing is what it is because of interest rates. They're like, oh, tell me more. An investor? Really? If an agent ever broke that out with me, I'd be like, okay, next. That's commonplace. This is it's like mother's milk. It's like digestible only by infants or kink shows, I guess. But all right, Lars Nielsen, New York does that as an analyst supporting my new family coming from a small town. It killed me. And I turned down the Wall Street offer. It killed me inside turning down that job offer as I couldn't afford the rent with first, last, and deposit. Yeah, I totally get that. Jeff M, all-nighter. I'm not looking for an excuse to sit out, but the more I learn. No, Jeff, you're exactly right on. You keep learning. Here's the thing. We've all had that one test in our lives where for some reason that one test meant more to us than anything. And we had it to the point where we memorized all of the information that was going to be on that test. So when we had sat down, forget needing 3 hours for that test, we were done in 22 minutes and we got an amazing grade. Why did that happen? It didn't happen to me very often, but it happened when something was really important to me about that test for some reason. And here's what I can tell you. I memorized the information. I got what I needed to, and I was able to, get an amazing score. It's the same thing with this real estate stuff. On the inside when you're like, whew, yeah, I am dialed in. I am dialed in. I am ready, because you start being able to guess exactly what the house is, exactly what amenities it has, exactly what it has going for it, just from seeing the price. And you start to say, man, I already know that that's cheap. I had a house come up literally it came up on Saturday and I was like, that house is wicked cheap. I called my agent. I said, we got to get in there today. We got in there, got an offer done. They agreed. And we're going to close in, I think, 3 weeks. The only reason I could do that is because I knew exactly how much of a steal that house was. And it was just a matter of time before all the people that were sleepy figured out, holy cow, this thing is way underpriced.
So I think, Jeff, one of the problems you're running into is when we start, you're learning the basics, getting the foundation, right? And your brain doesn't yet process what is basics and what is advanced and what doesn't matter yet. So you want to learn everything. You're trying to have this foundation that covers every possible eventuality. The idea is learn the basics enough to understand how to calculate yield, how to pick a market, like a couple of those core strategies. That's much more important than what kind of appliances am I going to use? How am I going to structure my billing? All of that stuff will work itself out later. Because as a new investor, you are never going to feel like it's the right time for you to buy. Like you're ready, you're dialed in. Like Matt was just saying, an investor has been doing it for years, can feel, okay, I know I'm ready, right? You'll always feel like there's more to learn. But as you learn the basics and you start, and you've picked a market and you start watching deals, Matt nailed it when he said, the right deal is going to shine in your face like a beacon when you realize, wow, with these numbers, I better get an offer in before everyone else realizes what a great deal this is. And that's when you'll start taking action. So yes, you're learning the basics, but if you're not setting up your searches, looking at the properties, comparing rents with rates, with prices to calculate yield, you're not going to recognize the amazing deal. And that's that switch flipping moment where we go from, oh, I have so much to learn. I don't know if I'm ever going to be able to do this too. If I don't get this deal, I'm going to miss out. That deal, that experience doesn't happen without having your searches set up and running the numbers and communicating with investors to find out what's working in your local market. And that's the point we're trying to bring you to. Like, we can give you all the basics and everything, but unless you're doing the work, like Zuber says, do the work, look at the deals, then you're not going to recognize that one that jumps out and says, this is the one.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I wasn't shopping in the single family homes. I look at them, just a cursory look, just to make sure I'm checking my box and saying, yep, I'm doing my thing. And when I saw that at that price, I was like, what's wrong with it? And so I called my agent. I was like, we got to get in with it. I'll walk it and I'll see exactly what's wrong with it. Now, granted, I have an advantage over most because I know how to inspect a property. So I told him, I said, I need 90 minutes. So I went through, walked through. There was nothing inherently wrong with the property other than it's dated and it needs a little bit of electrical work. But knowing this and knowing what I know, this is what gives me a massive advantage over the other. There was another investor that put a number in, didn't use escalators, couldn't guarantee close. I said, hey, I'll close with cash if you want. And I said, my preference is to close with a bank. So if we won't make it financing dependent, so I can close with cash if I have to. But we were able to put together a deal and really meet their needs. And so then they came away saying, yeah, we picked you because we felt like we knew you were going to get the deal done kind of no matter what came up. That's how I win, and if I'm throwing in on a deal, admittedly, there isn't a deal that I've bought that I think I got a bad deal on. Every single one that I've bought where I wanted to buy it, where it was still a good deal. So Jeff M, on the keep learning piece, dude, you're doing it, man. You just keep on doing it and do those few things that I told you to do that really will open up your horizons. I think if people that were looking to buy their own single family home for themselves looked at some of the things investors do, they'd probably end up with a single family home a lot faster than their agent thinks they should, or their mortgage broker thinks they should, or the other people that they're talking at parties to about buying a house. Use some of the things that investors know to give yourself a leg up over the other home buyers out there. Because otherwise it's just a bunch of sheep largely doing the same thing. Do something different. So LVP pretty much best bet for rentals. I like LVP, and the stuff that I use is American Flooring Corporation. The reason that I choose them is because they have the basically good product in some of their nicer stuff, the stuff that's over $3 a foot, some of the stuff that's like just high twos. But if I get that same thing in a box store, it's usually $1 to $1.50 more a square foot. So I like American Flooring Corporation. If you say lumberjack landlord, when you call them, they might give you a free sample. It's been a while since I've talked because my main contact left there, and I bought like 10,000 square feet that I still have 3,000 square feet left of. So I haven't talked to them in a bit. Lynn, I'm not going to try the last name because I am horrible at last names. Totally agree. Just sign up for Michael's course. Ton of value with really good price. I agree with you. Yeah, I think that, I think that he has a great buying course. I really do. If you're trying to figure out how to buy rentals, I think it's a phenomenal course. Peter Navarro. Hey guys, thanks again for the content and knowledge you both bring. You're welcome. I plan to buy a buy box in the next 2 years. Okay. At the moment, just paying off bad debt. Any advice on how to get the wife on board? Hey, Dion.
I actually was successful with this recently. Was when I took the trip to Florida. I met a young gentleman and he wanted to house hack and he wanted to get his wife on board and she wasn't really having it. They make decent money and I think the spouse's idea was we work until we have a pension and we retire. And so I told him, he kept presenting like to me, to an investor, I found this deal. It's this much of a return. It's in this area. Like he listed out everything an investor would care about. And I was like, she's not an investor. None of that's going to matter. I said, how much is it going to cash flow? He said, $600 a month. When it's said and done, $600 a month for this first rental would get. I said, great. Take 200 of that and tell her it's hers. Every month, $200 that you can't question. She could take her friends out to lunch. She could take her friends and go do something, whatever. It doesn't matter. It could be something you don't even like, but you can't ask her where this $200 went every single month. The other 400, you don't tell her you're going to take 200. You take the other 400 and you say, we're going to add that to the investing for the next rental because I want the rental. I'm getting the reward of adding the rental to our cash flow, securing our future, making all these things better. You can present all the investor stuff to let her know you've done the work. But what mattered to her was if she can get some of this cash flow without question, then they went through with the deal. 2 months later, they've closed. And it was what got her on board was, how is she going to benefit? Now, in your case, it might be, I'd really like to spend more time with you. And I end up working like 50 to 60 hours a week. And a lot of people get divorced around 10 to 15 years. And they say, my spouse was always working. We never saw each other. So I'd like to make this investing strategy. So in 10 to 15 years, we can have all this time freedom together. Find out what matters to the spouse and say, this real estate investing idea gets us to this goal that you want. That's not going to be cash flow, yield, source of tenants, diversification of income. It's not going to be any of that unless that's how they think. And most times we're thinking that way because we're watching the same content. We're hearing this is a great deal. We're saying that person lives the life I would like to live. How did they get there? And then we learn that stuff. Our spouses usually aren't doing that. Kind of like Brandon Turner from Bigger Pockets was like, I really want my wife to read Rich Dad Poor Dad. And so he went to her and he said, look, I'll read any book that you give me, I'll read it if you read this book. So he had to read the whole Twilight series. Oh, and his wife read Rich Dad Poor Dad, and then he became Brandon Turner, right? So find out what matters to them and make sure that your path is taking you to that more so than everything that we think matters to an investor.
I can't top that. I had a conversation with my wife and I said, this is what I'm doing. But before she was my wife. And I was like, this is the path I'm on. Would love to have you on the path with me. If you're not interested, really, this is the path I'm on. And she was like, no, it sounds like fun. I was like, but she did discourage me a number of times in the process. Don't buy that property. And so now we have what we call the $1 Million Tour. We drive through the city and I'm like, remember that one? She goes, yep, don't want to talk about it. Like, hey, remember that one? She's like, yeah, I don't want to talk about it. I was like, I could have retired 5 years ago if you just said yes 3 more times. But yeah, we have a good laugh about that. REI centers, if it takes one more year from today to be able to save a 15% down deposit, to me, what would be better than getting into a deal with an FHA with 0.85 MIP, the conventional loan with 5% down, we make too much money.
So
I mean-
REI, why aren't you looking at houses with ADUs?
Mhm.
So you can get that 3. If you haven't owned a house in the last 3 years, it'll be 3% down. It'll be 5% down if you did own a house. When you left California, moved up here, I don't know if you were renting or sold or whatever. I'm pretty sure you guys were renting there and moved renting up here while you're starting this real estate thing. There are some lenders who will do 5% on a duplex conventional. It's hard to find. It's usually going to be credit unions, local small banks. It isn't going to be the big players. It isn't going to be a lot of the mortgage companies. So look at a different asset class. Yes, if you want to go fourplex, saving the 3.5% down with FHA or triplex, yeah, it's probably going to be the way to go. Is the 4-3-2-1 strategy. But if you're looking duplex or house with ADU, you can get single family lending and you don't need 15%.
It's true. Lars Nielsen, I have one rental out of state that I got with a VA loan. Awesome. Thanks for your service. 10 years ago, became a landlord after I took a better job. Cool. Now I am trying to become a landlord on purpose and for the first time and bought one rental at a time. That's awesome. Like I said, as far as buying rentals goes, I really don't think that you're going to find a better course. I think it's an amazing course that breaks it down and teaches you step by step how to buy a rental. I think it's absolutely fantastic. And then you can go off of that other stuff, and there's other like niche stuff as well. MK, thanks, Dan and Lumberjack. Thanks so much for your advice and time. You're very welcome. Lars Nielsen, I love hearing you guys that are positive and realistic at the same time. Yeah, I mean, we've done it. We're not teaching what we think is going to, like, we've done it. We live it every single day. That's why listening to some of these people on YouTube that think they know what they're talking about because they know how to read a chart doesn't mean they know how to interpret a chart. As an investor in the game, I interpret charts differently. They say housing market crash. I say buying opportunity. They say the world is going to go to hell in a handbasket. I say you make money when other people are fearful.
To be fair,
Go ahead.
and for the Canadians out there, to be
why.
fair, we develop as a species because we're fear averse, risk averse, right? Hunt in groups. Hunt the animal that's less likely to kill you, right? So our species develops. It's easier for content creators to get to the lizard brain and say, here's all of the fear that tells you not to take action. It's harder to say, here's the risks and action that I took. It wasn't easy. It was simple, but it wasn't easy. That gave me this lifestyle that everybody would like to have, but isn't willing to do all the things it took to get there. And so I actually totally get why the videos that give you an excuse to not do anything, blow up, get hundreds of thousands of views, and the ones that say, here's how you do it. It's really boring. It's not sexy, but it's simple.
Yeah, straightforward. I agree. Brett Beesboer, happy Friday. Happy Friday, Brett. Pallavi, hey, Pallavi, happy to have you. All-nighter. Thank God it's Friday. I agree. Cassidy Ironman, I'm looking into the 4-3-2-1 with FHA. Yep. Encountering an issue that most of the 4s, 3s, and 2s are not permitted as such. Most are multi-buildings considered ADUs by FHA and don't qualify in your area. So do you have any thoughts? Because I know you've done a bunch with ADUs.
So anytime that somebody talks about, and the agent that I use, it's primarily all they've done. Like their 9+ properties that they have now, it was 9 last count. It's all house with ADU. It's how are you searching? A lot of people will tell me, I can't find any small multifamily in my area. So not even not permitted, just literally can't find the small multifamily. And I said, well, how are you searching? And they go, Redfin, Zillow. I'm like, they're not there. Like my deal showed up on those platforms 3 or 4 months after I closed as pending. They weren't even there until then. So multiple searches with agents on the MLS. And you're doing it right, though, verifying that they are conforming. It's going to help with not only with lending, but it's going to help you with any tenant issues in the future where somebody did something that's not permitted and it's not actually living area. You can have you can have to pay somebody back rent that was paid previously. Like all kinds of bad things can happen. So good job on taking those steps, but increase the ways that you're searching. And that might be skip tracing, county tax records, permitting office. Where are the legal ones here? How do you contact them? I would look at Christian and Cody's strategy of finding the legal built structures, finding out who the owner is and asking to learn from them, developing that relationship, and then maybe turning into seller financing in the future. It's a brilliant strategy. But how many agents do you have with auto searches set up and continue to do the verification that you are to make sure they're permitted? I ran into that all the time. Even if buying cash, I'm not going to buy something that's non-conforming. Friend and I looked at buying a 14 unit mobile home park that was non-conforming. The county said, it's totally fine. We'll let you continue the sale, right? I wouldn't buy it because 1 month later, some new person in that county can completely change their mind if it's non-conforming and have issues with it.
That's right.
So I'm with you on not buying it if it's not conforming, but increase your search before I would go. And if you've increased your search, now you start looking at, okay, so how does single family in your area look? How do houses with ADUs that are legal look? How if you drew a circle around you that was 35 minutes out, 40 minutes out, how many different municipalities might you run into where you don't have the same issue? Expand the asset class based on that. Because my experience was the same. I wanted single family. I understood it. I didn't think duplex. My brain used to say that's like an apartment, and it's not. But single family just didn't work here. So I had to adjust my strategy based on what does work here.
Concur. Steven, thanks guys. You're welcome. Been enjoying this been enjoying this content with an investing friend of mine that bought Zuber's course recently. Yep. I tell you, on the buy side, it's good stuff. Ninja Vanish, greetings. REI Stoners, I bought Zuber's course last Christmas and knew the price would keep going up and added content coming all the time. So it's a great deal. I agree. Rob, yes, Dion mentioned it in an earlier video. All-nighter Hider. Okay, I can now focus on the live stream. Thanks for your time, gents. You're very welcome, Hider. Rob, prices may be going down, but they still haven't made up for the rise in cost of capital, 100%. And that's the issue. That's why I hammer these people on the head with this stuff, is that they just don't understand. It's math, but very few mathematicians become real estate agents. All-nighter Hider. Good call, Rob. I'm going to send you a video, Dion, on Dave Ramsey giving marriage advice. You're going to love it. REI Stoners, LOL. To Hider, Phil Nealon. I can't wait for Dion's relationship advice channel. That's cool. It would probably be more aptly put on Rumble. Let's see. All-nighter Hider, REI Stoners. It's Rich Cooper's reaction on his channel, Entrepreneurs in Cars. Hilariously terrible video. I'll have to watch that. Rob, Dion and Matt, do you use Crexy at all to review a multi? I don't. Do you, Dion?
Never heard of it until that comment, so I'm going to have to look into it.
Yeah. All-nighter Hider. Jeff, being aware enough to guard against making excuses, unfortunately rare amongst the general public. Good job, Jeff. You got character. Yeah, I like Jeff. He's a good guy. He's, you know what? Honestly, he's going to win. There's no doubt in my mind that Jeff wins. There just isn't. I've seen enough people trying to become investors. The biggest issue will be for Jeff is getting to that comfort level where he just pulls the trigger and just yanks, because he is fiscally ready. It's really a matter of finding the right opportunity. And I think there's obviously a little hesitation there, but I know you'll win, Jeff. There's no doubt in my mind. Mr. Nice Guy 423 Lumberjack. My wife and I are on our second house hack duplex. I love it. The main level has an addition where the master bed baths stick out from the rest of the building with a flat roof and very shallow attic. Any experience with spray foam or insulation suggestions? It's cold here. Master bed baths stick out from the house of the building with a flat roof and a very shallow attic. Yeah, so you could get somebody in there to spray what's called the roof line, which is basically the shape of the roof, right? You could have that done. You could also just put like insulation up there. Roxol or rock wool, ROCKWOOL, rock wool. You can buy that product and actually, depending on what is in your attic above your bedroom, if it's just like spray in, then you can also add another layer of that right to right to the ceiling, right to the roof line. The other thing you want to look at too is you might want to look for a home energy audit. They're usually free or a couple of $100. Have them come out and hit it with a camera. Because it's an addition, they might not have put really good insulation in the walls. That could be the other issue too. So I would take a look at that. And then underneath the house, you can also insulate up underneath there. That rock wool is a pressure fit product. You can actually put it right up in the floor. So if that thing is above slab, the problem that you'll have is you will get cold air that comes up. If it's full basement, again, you can probably put some of that rock wall in there. But if you do it in your roof line, look at the walls and with a thermal camera and see if those are bad. And then up underneath the house, those are things that I would take a look at. All-nighter header question. Escalator is a new term to me. Could you give a brief explanation of that? Yes. An escalator.
Before you do,
Yeah, go ahead.
all-nighter header, it's escalation clause,
Yes.
right? So escalator is the term people are using for escalation clause. You might have heard that. Now you can go with your.
Thank you, Dion. So an
Well, I mean,
escalator clause. Yeah, no, you're good. No, I appreciate him. An escalator clause. So we call it escalators. It's not putting an escalator in a house. And so I appreciate Dion's clarification because people might be thinking, why is Matt putting an escalator in a house? That's going to be extremely expensive. It is extremely expensive and no escalator. So the escalator clause is if you know that it's a multiple offer situation and the house is listed as an example at $150,000 and you think I want to win this house, but I don't want to pay more than 170 for it. You can use something called an escalator clause. If you've deemed that this house is worth 170 based on the numbers, you can bid 150 or 155, if you really know what you're doing. You can bid 150, 155, and then you can use an escalator clause that's $3,000 per what they have to prove that they have another offer that's come in at that same amount. So I've actually been up against another escalator and I outkicked them by $1,000. I came in at 201. They came in at 200. I won. They picked my offer because the rest of the components were the same. We were both going to finance. We were both going to do inspections. And so we were able to win that deal because they have to be like deals. The challenge where the big thing is with the escalator is you have to write that it's the same. It has to be of an equal deal, i.e. if they have inspections in there, then it doesn't qualify. Because a lot of times you can win a deal paying less by not doing inspections, especially on older homes. For a newbie, I would not recommend that. For somebody with my experience, I can walk a home and I've been gotten in the past, and it might have been $5,000 or $7,000, but I've been gotten once out of 70 homes I've bought. So it was just something that I couldn't see that was missed. Or I didn't miss it. I couldn't see it. So hopefully that explains the escalator. I was thinking something else when Dion said he met a young gentleman. Oh, sweet heavens. Jeff M, all-nighter, right on. Rob, it took me a long time, years, to finally convince my wife to take the leap. And finally, it was something that Jason Hartman said that what had convinced her was what convinced her. My husband is the same. No interest on with RE. He's a stock guy. I told him, you do your stock, I do my RE. I like that. That's compromise right there. Brandon Air, you guys are awesome. Thank you for the guidance, Brandon. Thanks for saying so. Hartman is a good dude. I'm trying to get him and Zuber together. I'm a natural born contrarian. I like Hartman too. I think, generally speaking, I like him. I think that while I appreciate the doomsday scenarios being played out, usually there's 900 other things that have to happen before we get to doomsday. So it's not like a little scratch of an itch that we're at doomsday's door. It's usually just a little bit more of a distance, but I like Hartman. I think he's good. Mark Ham, I am finally getting my girlfriend on board with investing. She already owns a house and I own two. The knowledge I have gained from the three amigos made me feel more confident trying to teach her. Awesome. Worst case is sit down and watch us together on separate devices. Zero to Hero, would you be able to tell me who you find to be a great mortgage lender for our area, King, Pierce, Thurston? Dion.
So that's where I'm at.
Yep.
Outside of King, I'm in Pierce and Thurston.
Yep.
So let me be very clear, zero to hero, that there's a difference between Matt and I. Matt has more than 10 mortgages in his own name and has built relationships with lenders to actually develop loan products to meet his needs. He presents it in such a way that the bank goes, wow, that's a really good way to do that. We should do that, and gets his own lending done. Again, there's a spectrum. We're both on it, and we're as far apart as you can get. I don't want a relationship with a lender. I want my lender to kind of hate me. And I look at lenders like a contractor, where I go to one. And so I start with a big bank, Wells Fargo, Bank of America, Chase, one of the larger banks around here, because their lending tends to be the most standardized. Figure out what they say you can qualify for, get a pre-approval. Wells Fargo has a good lender here. If you reach out to me, I can connect you with her. Basically works 24 hours a day, has answered things 10 o'clock on a Saturday when that thing pops up that Matt talked about, where I found the deal, I want to make the offer now. And so just because it's a large bank doesn't mean that they have bankers hours. But
Yes.
I've never closed on a deal where I didn't take my offer from that large lender and send it to as soon as I'm under contract with the property, like the day the first email where I get here, the seller's probably going to accept your offer. I send that qualification out to my other lenders, and I go with Fairway, Guild. I tried some credit unions around here, didn't have any luck. And I say, here's what their loan offer is. And it lists everything, the closing costs, the buy down the point rate, all that kind of stuff, because lenders and contractors will be the first one to point out a competitor's flaw. And then they come back with how they can beat it to get my business. And then to have honor, I go back to my first lender and I say, look, so my first couple were through Wells Fargo. They were able to beat all of the other lenders I found around here. My last 4 have been through Fairway. So I can connect you with my lender there. But I would do the same thing, keep them on their toes every single time. They know my pattern is I'm going to get a pre-approval. I'm going to send it to at least 3 other lenders, and I'm going to get their response back and give you a chance to keep my business if you can beat it. And this was actually something I started because of my first lender. She educated me. She said, I can't go to my boss and say, I really like Dion. We want to give him a better rate or a cheaper buy down. But if you bring me something in writing from a competitor, I can go to my boss and say, this is what we need to beat to keep the business. And so I'll put my email in the chat. Feel free to reach out and I will connect you with them. But I don't have one preference. If the other one called and it was $50 better on some level, and the other one couldn't beat it, they're going to get the business. Just like if, and unless I was going with a contractor where one had great reviews and one didn't. If I'm going to have a $5,000 deck built and one is $5,050 and one is $5,000, everything else is the same, the $50 is going to make the determination.
Does that sound lazy to you?
Hell yeah. That work up front gets me the better rate, the better bought down percentage rate, the faster financial freedom. You want to find the easiest way to do something, you ask a lazy person.
It's true. That's very true. One of my buddies was a software developer manager. And he's like, I want the guy that's just like, I want to be just done this project. And so he's like, yeah, I can write that this way. It's like, he's like, yeah, he just wants to get done the project. I was like, that's pretty funny. 33 people hit the like button. I know now it's 48. We need a lot more. I agree. Cassidy Ironman, you guys are so cool. I appreciate that. I mean, maybe some days my kids think I am, and that's kind of what matters. And my wife too. Let's see. Millennial Mike, suspiciously low number of likes on the video. Dion, strip. I don't want to get demonetized. Stop, guys. That's not funny. Mike.
All right, hit the like or we strip.
Oh yeah. See, I like that. That's good. There's a like. I agree. Jeff has consistency, or Jeff just has fortitude. It shows with the consistency. Yeah, I like Jeff. I think he's gonna be a great investor. I really agree. All nighter. MM in the house. I'm a Fed. Todd Doherty, Mr. Lumberjack. If you could design the most sweet Lord. Okay.
There's not enough likes.
Yeah.
We got one more to go.
Oh, my life just flashed before my eyes. Mr. Lumberjack, if you could design the most appealing 20 by 22 kitchen living room floor plan, what would it look like? Gallery, peninsula, open plan, etc. Common area downstairs, bedrooms upstairs.
Before you answer with an actual articulate, smart answer, can I give mine?
Yes, of course. Well, it's lazy, so yes, you can. It's going to be
the
short.
way it is when I buy it that will rent out.
Exactly. Yeah, I was just going to say.
But now give your actual, real, like smart answer.
So the big thing for me is if it is like this 20 by 22 area, typically what I like to do is seating. And so it really depends on what kind of house it is. Is it like a 3-bedroom or a 4-bedroom where they're likely going to expect a nicer eating area? Or is it like, something that like college students are going to be renting out? So I kind of take that into mind with who my target tenant is. If it's more of a family and I don't have a dining room, then I would likely, try and create a little bit better separation. Typically my design for those areas are wide open floor plan. I would then do a horseshoe of a kitchen. So it would be down this back wall, or so here's the back wall, here's the front wall. It'd be coming down this wall, across this way, up this way, bar stools over here. But now you've got tons of cabinets here. Then you have no uppers here, no uppers here, and the uppers only against the wall over here. That way you have enough room for a dishwasher, a stove. Also, you can do a lazy Susan, which has massive space. And then, like I said, on that bar, you can have bar seats here. But again, depending on who the end user is. So that could be bar seats here. And then you do couch here, couch here, couch here. And then you got flat panel on the TV over here. The other thing that I've seen configuration wise is not doing the peninsula right here and then putting the kitchen table right over here on this wall right here. And then still doing, basically doing the couch here and the couch here and then chairs here from a bar perspective. Ta-da! Design, man, that was hard. Millennial Mike, did your super chat go through? No. What the hell, Mike? Free. Let's see here. Oh, that was Todd. Yep. No, it didn't go through. Non-sufficient funds, SMM. Jose Cava. Hey guys, what do you think about R8 zoning? R8 zoning is different all around the country. So it depends on what your R8 zoning is. All-nighter. Great explanation of the escalator clause. You are welcome. Daniel Fiore. I've been living in the attic of my one and only rental property without the tenant's knowledge. I'm running out of food and tenants never leave the house. Any suggestion on what I should do? I would start eating yourself, but only in small chunks, because eventually they'll leave. I'm teasing. I can't help you. All-nighter hider. Sorry, Jeff M. Lumberjack, thanks for the kind words. You are correct. Just trying to get comfortable pulling the trigger. Really appreciate all you've done. I'm telling you, Jeff, you're going to crush it, man. I'm telling you. There's just no doubt in my mind. Because once you find that one, and then you get dialed in on your first one, you're going to make mistakes. You're going to make fewer of the mistakes than most because you measured 4 times and cut once. But it's going to be ending a great experience. Deanne's marriage advice on Rumble. LOL. LMAO. Thank you.
It'll probably go better on Rumble than on Grindr, but we'll see.
They'll probably leave Rumble and go over to Grindr.
Yes, this is a better choice.
Exactly. Rob Hartman. Hartman and Zuber already had a meeting, I think. They did. Yep. Old interview. My memory is not failing me. Yeah, they did. They got together. Yep, they've done stuff together. Mr. Nice Guy 423. Thanks, Matt. I may try the energy audit. The bed bath that sticks out is above the basement with 11-foot exposed ceilings. The basement is surprisingly warm. I'll probably have to open walls, ceiling. Just get the energy audit, get them to shoot what's called shoot the outside walls. It might not have enough insulation in there. But again, if the walls have good insulation, then you're losing it above. And that could be, did they not put anything up there? Did they put only 3 or 4 inches of blow in? You can get an R4 value for every inch of open cell foam you spray, open cell foam that you spray. You can get an R7 for every inch of closed cell foam that is sprayed. And the Rockwell is right around the open cell stuff. It's around 3 or 4 R value per inch. And the better part about the R value stuff is wear gloves, wear a mask, but you can actually put the Rockwell in yourself. There's a million videos out there on how to do that. If you're in my course, that's one of the things that we'll actually teach, how to put in some of these products. Daniel Fiore, see, I'm here for you. Happy to help, buddy. Let's see. Yeah, Zuber had talked to Hartman before. Yep. Let's see, 0 to hero. What age were each of you at the purchase of your first rental? Dion?
So my house that I turned into a rental, I purchased in 2000. So I was 30, might've been 99, but it was right around there. But I owned it for 10 years before, making a rental out of it. It was around 2009, 10. I started the rental thing.
Yeah, so I was, no, I think it was, how old were you? Not what year.
Yeah, so I was 40. I was 30 when I bought it, but 40 when I turned it into a rental. Because I was 40 when I decided to get into real estate.
Yes, so I was 23. Yep. Matt, are you trying to do creative financing deals, and do you try to go to the seller directly or use an intermediary? I know an autocorrect got you, Rob. I do try and do seller creative deals. We have the conversation with my agent, has a conversation with them saying, is there any interest on their part in doing something creative? I actually like Dion's approach, even though he's talking to somebody over there, being really rude to our live stream people. Jerk face. Dion, tell everybody.
I hit mute.
I know who that is over there, and we're busy having fun time right now. Dion, tell everybody your strategy for the seller finance stuff. I actually do like your strategy and kind of how you present it. So present that.
So I haven't gone direct to seller. I use my agents. I want my agents very happy with me and want to bring me deals in the future. Some of my deals have been when the agent called me and said, hey, did you see this one? I know I sent you like 30 things in the last 24 hours, but this is the one that really meets. And then that's the deal I go for. So I want them motivated to continue to do that. So I send in an offer that says, basically, here's my offer if I have to do lending. This is my inspection period. This is my appraisal clause, like all that kind of stuff. DocuSign through an agent sent with an offer that says, if you're open to seller financing, the first thing I do is I make sure that the listing agent is aware that my down payment is going to be enough to cover their fees, right? The agent fees are going to be covered by my down payment. So they know I'm not trying to get around agents making money. Again, motivate people to want to work with you. And then I list out in that offer all of the benefits to the seller, the benefits to me, and I submit that. And I have my email in the chat if you scroll up into the live chat, and I might come back and leave a comment after this video if somebody in Futureland, hello Futureland, is watching this. Feel free to reach out and I'll send you a copy of what my seller financing offer looks like. I make both at the same time.
Love it. Great plan, great path. I've done it a bunch of different ways. Honestly, the biggest mistake I think that most people make in a deal like this is that it's literally like throwing it up against the wall and fingers crossed something sticks. I like Dion's approach because it gives options, but think about it. The seller's wanting to sell their house, and then they're just waiting for people to throw stuff at them and go, yeah, I think I like that one the most. Well, own the process. Go ahead, Dion.
I wanted to cover really quick. I've got that call in 2 minutes. So if I dip out, I will be back.
Okay.
We had that call scheduled.
You did. That's true. So, so I will try not to miss you while you're gone, but I can't promise anything.
With every shot so far.
Yeah. So I think that people really need to take up. This is one of the more important pages in my book, is ask the seller what they want. Ask them what they want. Get your agent to do their damn job and get their agent to do their job. Well, what would you like to see? We've had some people respond back with price. Okay. Those are your top three. Sounds good. Then I know what I'm going into the deal trying to do. But I still have my max that I'll pay based on what my return on that capital is going to be. Anthony Lowry. Hey, Anthony, thanks for coming and hanging out with us. You're new here, but I'm super excited to have you and answer your question. Hey guys, my DTI seems maxed out for my current home, but I have enough for a down payment. Is there a way for me to get around the DTI max? Yes, a DSCR loan. Yeah, so the DSCR loan, if you have great credit, your DSCR loan will actually likely allow you to buy that property because they're actually judging it based on the property's income as opposed to anything else. They want to make sure that you're still good for it, that you still have good credit, but they'll actually take into account the actual income on that property through a DSCR loan. Do you want to go do your
three ways to get around debt to income? Two that a lot of people would want to use, one that nobody likes to hear, but it's the one that worked for me. First, seller financing anytime it's an option, if you find a place where they've got enough equity. Second, DSCR or asset-based lending, where your credit score matters, but your income, your work history, your debt to income, none of that kind of stuff matters. And the third was, I owned a house, so that's why this is not a strategy that a lot of people can use. I moved into an apartment and rented the house out for 2 years to get rental income on my tax returns. And then debt to income after those first 2 years of investing really means nothing after that, because they'll look at the rental income of the property you're purchasing on your income, even conventional lending, not just DSCR or asset-based.
Yeah, what he said. Let's see. Cassidy, when you were doing, going about making your standard operating procedures, how did you choose to document it, or did you keep it all in your head? I kept a lot of it in my head. Dan, you need to shoot out for that call. Yeah. So shoot out for the call. It's okay.
I'm waiting for it to ring in. It's an attorney. The attorney's got to call me. When the attorney calls me, I'm just dipping out. Right.
Yeah, got it. Cool. So I didn't document them in the very beginning because I didn't know they were good. So now we just have our processes that we do it. And now I know they're good. I have a super low vacancy rate. I have a very low turnover rate. And I consistently get increases in rents. So these are the procedures that I use. And quite frankly, I have fewer evictions than anyone else near my size. Not this size, but this size, portfolio size. I have 137 units and I've only done 9 evictions over 22 years. There's not many people that can point to that number. Meanwhile, I'm consistently making sure that my properties are rented at the appropriate market rent. All-nighter, my job here is done. Well done. Angel R, you guys raising rents in 2023? Yep. Certainly for some units. I gave in 2022, I gave myself a $250,000 raise because I'm handsome.
Well, I agree with that. I wasn't looking to consider that. I was trying to think of the math on what kind of raise I gave myself.
I think you did like
128 to 203, whatever that is.
Yeah, so it was like 75.
Yeah.
Give or take $1. 75. Yeah. So Dion made 75 grand last year, more money. I made $250,000 more. Yeah, like way it goes.
It might go back to the way I was before 2020, where every other year I do a 5% increase. And I leave the percentage out of the conversation. I just say, look, this year there's no increase. Next year there might be a small one. And then I come back with generally 5%. But in 2021, it was binder strategy across the board. Insane requests for rents to go up. And they're still getting a good deal.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. We had that a lot. We didn't raise everybody in this year, not even close. And so I expect we're going to be about the same next year too, and with more units. And a lot of it is even taking units that are, we're probably 15 grand a month under what we should be just for our Section 8 units because they weren't, or in housing units, because they weren't properly managed by the old landlords. They were too lazy. No offense, Dion. They were too lazy to send something to the tenant and to the housing authority saying, we're raising your rent to the newest standard. We're going through that process right now. We'll be getting all of those out right around New Year's. And that means that they take effect March 1st because it's 60 days to put those out there. Let's see. Chris Webb. Hey, Chris. Hi, guys from Central Virginia. Thanks for doing the live stream. My pleasure. Mr. Nice Guy 423. Thanks, Matt. You're welcome. Let me know how it goes. All-nighter Hider. Anthony, look into a DSC. That's my dude. Good job, Hider. Todd Doherty. I'm about to turn 40 and I'm obtaining my first rental. Will I be as handsome, rich, lazy, and bald as Dan in 12 years? 2 out of those 3, I bet. Probably. Oh, see, he said yes. I think it's just 2 out of the 3. But my hair is below my shoulders right now. Nice. Antoine Davis. When it comes to advertising a unit, how do you guys feel about posting a for rent sign? Yeah. So I've put, it depends on the city. So I say yes, because I don't have a high crime city. So I don't need to worry about squatters or people breaking in or any of that other stuff. So it really depends. So my answer is it kind of depends on your city and that sort of thing. But I've done it on commercial properties. I've done it some on resi, but not a whole lot. Not a whole lot. RE3, my property manager and tenant are defrauding me in Little Rock. Oh man. Sorry, man. Do I need to visit the property or can I just hire a lawyer? I would send them an email. Then if that email gets no response, because you've probably already done that, then I would send a letter from an attorney certified. And that usually will at least facilitate a phone call. And then, yeah, if that doesn't work, like obviously not knowing exactly what the situation is, if I don't get a response, like there has to be teeth in the letter saying, this is the last time we're going to contact you this way. The next time we will be bringing you to court. But that's how I would make that letter aggressive. I would make sure that it has teeth to it and something to follow up with, like getting a response back in like 7 days. That's what I would make sure you do. Todd Doherty, Antoine Davis. I'm in an LA. That's how a majority of landlords do it here. As most tenants cruise through neighborhoods they want to live in to find vacancies. Not sure how it works everywhere else. Yeah, that's a great idea, Todd. Yeah, I think it really depends on crime rate. You know, what's the issue in the areas, or higher homeless population where if they know it's vacant, they're going to try and break in, that sort of stuff. Doc, I recommend contacting them directly via mail. Yep, I agree. Yep. Then with a mediator, then the courts like to see that you've exhausted other options. It's very true. I think a stern letter from an attorney is worth its weight in gold, though. It just is. I have an attorney that's on standby. I can literally send him in the email. Here's the 4 things I want to communicate. And now put all your legalese around it and make it sound heavy. So that's what I do. RE3, I hired a new property manager. The old property manager just admitted on email that there were no post-repair moving inspection pictures. So the tenant just moved in without a moving inspection. Okay. So how can we tell that this new deteriorated, broken down house was due to sudden normal wear and tear in 5 months, or did the tenant do it herself? Yep. The tenant that the old property manager plays, they called a code inspector, and now there's a bunch of mandatory items that need to be fixed. Huge bills. Yeah. But how can we tell that these are legitimate items if we don't have a move-in inspection from the old property manager? It's a mess. Yeah, that definitely is. It definitely is. Yeah. Yep. Looks like a breach of contract with the original PM. Agreed. Yep. Hyder, are your properties in San Diego? Anthony Lowry, thanks for answering my question. Follow up. I like what Dion did, but if rent my house out, I'd break even right now. Is that a bad idea? Or should I sell and deploy my cash elsewhere? Yeah, it's really tough, Anthony. You know, I have sold to deploy before. So I won't say no, but that really is a personal decision. That's a really personal one because there's a lot of layers to that onion for sure. For sure. Yeah. RE3, how can I enforce this? I just called them out on it saying they're my property manager and they're supposed to represent me and do a move-in inspection. They can easily ignore the email. Yeah, I would send a lawyer letter. Not yet, Rob. Got to build a portfolio to get to that point. Cool. Chris Webb, I had to get insulation in my home that I converted to a rental. It made a huge difference. The oil consumption. Yep. I remember you shared some tips on doing it before. Thanks. You're welcome. Guys, again, this is what the course is going to be about. It's about how you guys become better operators, how you better understand to address and fix problems as they come up as you own these rentals. Guys, this is the part of landlording that I'm passionate about. There are hundreds of people that offer courses. I have my favorites on how to be on actually how to buy property. There are none out there on how to actually manage the day-to-day in being a landlord. All the forms that I use, all the checklists that I use, all the procedures that I have, these have all been built and perfected over 22 years. That's what my course is going to be. Let's see. RE3, I will make all the repairs, but I think the old property manager can be on the hook for it because they admitted to not doing a move-in inspection. You won't get all of it because some of it will show as likely as it pre-existed. And so you'll get in a match back and forth. You're better off trying to reach a settlement with them. That's far better off, because you might be, it's going to take you a lot of money to prove that that happened and that it's on it, the hook's on him. You'll be in a tough spot. Let's see. Attorney letterhead works well before court proceedings. Yes, it does. Yep, that's the way we do it. Ashley A, closing Wednesday on my first deal. All right, Ashley, good job. Tenant was replying to me and now ghosting me about signing a new lease. No lease in place from the seller. That's okay, Ashley. That's not truly, it might be a stressful thing for you. I get it. But inheriting a tenant that doesn't return your calls and becomes unresponsive is not the worst thing. It really isn't. It might not be how you necessarily wanted to handle it. It might dip into your reserves after you close because maybe you have to do some work or things like that. Totally get that. Totally get that. But yeah, that's definitely a challenge. Do you know of any loan products that would consider income from roommates? The DSCR, I think, does. I don't think any standard loan does. I think only a DSCR does, because it basically accounts for the income on the property. Yeah. Ashley A, looked her up and she has previous evictions. Any advice would be appreciated. Oh man. Ironically, so again, it's in my course. It's a ton to take you through. Kind of the way the course is broken down is it's 11 items that I think are the critical tent poles to managing and becoming a great operator. And those 11 tent poles, I basically teach for 30 minutes. And so that way you have access to a chat group, which is not going to be on Facebook. It's going to be its own entity. That way it's really our community only. And then we have a boot camp, which is going to be an option that you can basically upgrade to, where we do the 30-minute course. And then that week there's an hour-long boot camp where all the people that had that module that week, we all get in and we round table stuff. I answer questions. I give you ideas. Other people can share their experience and their ideas. And that's where we would kind of workshop some of that stuff. But yeah, I mean, the only advice that I would have is, at that point, I would send her a certified letter. That's what I would do. I would send her a certified letter. And in that letter, I would just basically say, I've tried contacting you a number of times through text message. I want to understand, I'm trying to connect with you in order to be able to sign a lease moving forward. But again, a lease is only as good as the person signing it. People break leases all the time, and then you still have to track them down or skip trace them. And then once you do track them down, you have to bring them to court and make sure they get served. And it can be a lot. And so a lot of times earlier on in my career, I didn't try and follow up because I didn't have the money to chase them. I needed to spend the money I had on making the unit right and getting it rented out as quickly as possible. That was more my concern. Peter Navarro, well, when is your course coming out? Tomorrow we actually launch the video, no coursework, but launch the video tomorrow, breaking down what the course has, the full syllabus, all the pricing, all of that's going to be in there. And then we're taking reservations for spots in the course now because the boot camp is limited to only 25 people, because I want to make sure every single week, whoever shows up gets their questions answered on the module that they're studying. And then those sessions will be recorded, available only to students that are in the boot camp. And yeah, that's the idea. So, and then the course will be sometime in January. We recorded a bunch of it. It's not finished yet, but it's very close to finish, and then editing, and then we'll have it available. So it will be available in January. So we're taking reservations now. Rob, Matt, is Dion going to narrate your course? He needs more audible work. He is not, because it's not a book. It's a course. So I'm narrating it.
Nope, you're going to narrate the course. I'm hoping to make some content for the course and participate in the boot camps when it comes to portions that apply to what I do. Right.
Yep. Yeah, I think so. You guys that have seen the binder strategy, I want Dion to be able to teach you guys the binder strategy, exactly how he implements it. But also kind of then my sub strategy of how I do it, not presenting a binder, because I've done it all. We've done a lot of that work in the last 7 to 10 years, and we do it all via text message because we do a lot with college kids and they cannot take having a conversation in the same room. And so it is not just what you're delivering, but the platform by which you're delivering it makes it very easy for them to not feel pressured, not feel overwhelmed, be able to sit back and think about it, digest, discuss, etc. Where do you sign up? There will be links in the video that will bring you to the site. Again, guys, very expensive. Trust me, I understand many people will say it's way too expensive. I completely understand. We had to look at a number of other courses, all that they cost, all that goes into it. I can tell you developing a course is very expensive. And so from our perspective, we also wanted to make sure that people were going to take it seriously, and really have an expectation that they're going to be a better operator on the other side. Question: will you seller finance 30-year ARM at 0% interest on the course? I don't know. Maybe we might do payments. Probably not. Guys, we're not doing the course. We really want to do this course, but it was something very hard to come to as the pricing, because I want to make sure people take it seriously. I want to make sure people really understand if you implement these things and follow these processes, that the sky's the limit in how big you can grow your company and how big you can grow your rental portfolio. But most importantly, if I can go into depth on how much it costs to do one load of laundry on a washer and dryer, these are the types of things that I want people to learn, because if you look at those things, you're going to be the most profitable out there. And that's why for me, I can look at properties and say 20% return, 25% return, 30% return, because I can operate as low cost as possible without doing crazy things. Sound snags. I don't know where the zero ends on your definition of very expensive. You'll see tomorrow. Like I said, we were just, I get that it's very expensive. And so I completely understand it. And if you take the course, I know you'll get great value out of it. If you don't, the other people who did the course are going to be way far ahead of you. Glover, I'm closing on my first out-of-state rental today. Thanks for all your guys' help. You're very welcome. Let's see. Sorry, Glover. Nope. Lars Nielsen. To that person that was asking about sell to redeploy or to rent, I would advise if you sell, then redeploy quickly. If not, rent out and we'll slowly make money on it over the next decade. Sure. Yeah, because Lars, you did that. Dan Caruso, I have one rental I'm in process of getting up and ready, and my primary. I hope to add another rental in the next 2 years. What level of the course would you recommend? Most basic or middle one? I think so. There's really 3 pieces to it. There is the course itself, which you can take at your own speed, all the modules. There's the course and the boot camp, which is really just, it's the course, but then it's interaction with all these other people all at the same time. This is the network building part that I'm really keen on. And yeah, I said the word keen. But I'm really pumped about the networking piece of the course, because once you've taken the boot camp, you're going to be able to, again, it's all of those people that you're in contact with, but you will have known their experience and their models. I kind of see people kind of getting better and better and better together, constantly sharpening iron, seeing what other people are doing in other markets. And then the third level is just, it's basically those 2 things and then getting 3 hours of my time. And it's obviously the 3 hours of my time is expensive, and it's extremely limited because, like Dion, I'm not trying to create another job. I wanted to make the offering available to you guys because some people, it's just, that's the way they learn. But because it's 3 hours of my time, it's got to be expensive because I don't have 3 hours of time for what it's worth. So and there's going to be, for those of you that commit before Christmas, we're going to give a huge discount on the boot camp because I believe in it that much. So I know that space in that will be limited. It's only 25 people. Let's see. Congrats, Glover. Yep. Where do I sign up? Yep. So will be a link in the video. Question. Yep. That was the seller finance thing. Definition of very expensive. You'll see in the video. Hey, Rob, later. Thanks for hanging out. If the course is less than 10K, then it's a screaming deal. Thanks, Hyder. I appreciate that. It is way less. We didn't even want to come close to even the $5,000 options. There's a lot of $5,000 courses out there that basically allow for zero involvement with the teacher. And so ours is much less expensive than that, but still very expensive. Investing done simple. Hi, Matt and Dion. Happy Friday. Happy Friday, Investing Done Simple.
Is that what day it is?
Yeah, shut up. Yeah. Dion got me messed up. He's like, yeah, tomorrow. I was like, no, tomorrow's Thursday. He goes, oh, yeah, it is. And then later in the day, memory guy, he goes, hey, so what time tomorrow? I go, yeah, this time. I said noon. And he goes, okay. And I was like, no, wait, it's still not tomorrow. It's Friday. This was on Wednesday. I was like, he totally got me. So good. Dion, any things before we let everyone go? Because we've been going for 2.5 hours. Any other things for people before they split?
I hope it helps people to get these random midday live streams. That audit your network really matters. Being around people who speak the same language, who make you think the same things, who keep you motivated. It works. It doesn't stop. Like this still works for me after reaching financial freedom and retiring and never having to work again. I still like we had the Tacoma FI meetup this week, get around people, watch the excitement. That's important, especially if the people in your life are like the ones in mine. I know very few investors, very few people will even have conversations like this without immediately going, that's too risky. I wouldn't want to deal with tenants, toilets, or termites. Yet they work 50 plus hours a week for a job they hate to possibly retire when they're too old to enjoy it.
Yeah.
So good job, everybody who came and hung out with us today. Let's get you to where work is optional. And then you can be like the two people here today, retired and enjoying life, or retiring soon and enjoying life.
That's so true. Yeah, I'm going to use more vacation time than I've ever used ever at one time in the next few weeks. So I'm very excited for that. But guys, I can't begin to tell you, Dion and I love doing these things. We love jumping on. We get to hang out with each other, talk real estate with a bunch of like-minded people, hopefully give you a leg up by sharing our experience with you. But yeah, I'm telling you, there was a time when I was making $5.25 an hour working in a video store. For those of you who are too young and don't know what a VHS tape looks like, we still had DVDs too, but this is when Blockbuster was a thing. I was making $5.25 an hour. Guys, I had no idea that my life was going to be this. And I lost a bunch of money in the stock market in my early 20s. And I just felt like I had no control. And so now I feel like, and even though control is largely an illusion, man, I feel like I'm in so much better of a spot. I just do. Like, man, not having to go to work, it really does give you a different perspective too, Dion, because you did this for 4 years where you didn't have to go to work. So it really does give you a different perspective when you're like, yeah, I might quit today. I also might not. Thoughts? Please, Phil. No, yeah, I want to hear what you're thinking, right?
A lot of people say money can't buy you happiness, but money gives you options. And when you have options, it's a lot easier to find happiness.
I tell you, it's, yeah, I mean, it certainly can't buy happiness, but man, does it eliminate the elephant sitting on your chest when things are tight? Like, man, does it ever? Like, I mean,
so imagine
please.
A life event
Yeah,
that costs you $30,000 to $60,000. You crash into someone's car, your insurance doesn't cover it, you have to cover it. Your septic system fails on the house that you own, like whatever the thing is that causes that. Would you rather be in a position where you figure out what form of bad debt can I create to handle this issue, or the numbers in an account that I didn't put the money in are going to change because of this event? That's how big of an effect money can have on your life, to where the stress of everyday things that can happen, you have the financial resources to handle it, and not from a job, not from having to sell your life 1 hour at a time. That stress going away is hard to put into words.
Yeah, I agree. Jordan Smith, respect. You guys give out so much. Sorry, block. I had a block covering you, not unblocking you. You guys give out so much free game under 5K. It's a ton of value. I appreciate that. Yeah, I think this is the type of stuff, like Dion likes to say, largely people would go numb kind of watching some of this stuff, but man, is it important. I'm telling you, it is blocking and tackling. It is a way to get leverage on the guy on the line across from you. I mean, there's a lot there. Phil Nealon, thanks for the live video, fellas. Made a couple hours of installing Commercial Cove baseboard much more enjoyable. That's good. All-nighter hider. Thankfully, I have a close friend that's totally on board with REI. I love it. Cassidy, I house hack and have 2 more units. If I never do another deal ever again, my retirement in 30 years will still be amazing. Cassidy, you're so right. You're so right. All-nighter hider. Phil, full of rolls or 4-footers? I see 4-footers. Yep. A little medical clinic with so many corners. Oh, dude, God bless you. Those are brutal. Those interior corners on those things. That is rough. Pallavi Patel. Thank you, Matt and Dion. All QRes for an excellent information session. You're very welcome in teaching. Happy weekend to all. Good to see you. We'll see you guys again on Sunday. RE3. I'm so interested in a landlording course, although I stopped at 5 rentals. Passive investing fits me better. It takes up a lot less time and the returns, tax incentives have been similar. Completely agree. And that's why one of the parts of my course that I teach is how to be a self-managing landlord at a distance, being your own, insourcing property management. That's one of the things that I had to do in the last 2 years. Go ahead, Dion.
My question for you got to 5 and then passive income is a lot easier. How passive can you make it? And second, have you made the biggest mistake that landlords make? Failed landlords, the ones that quit, or the ones that stop growing because of the challenge of thinking I can put my money to work somewhere else and get a similar return. What are you doing with your rents?
Yeah.
Are you the person, and this isn't a bad person to be, that goes, I have good tenants, I'm going to leave the rent the same for 15 years because they take care of the place. Of course, you're not going to add to that. Your return goes down every couple of years because inflation eats up the rent. If you're not increasing rents, and it doesn't have to be the binder strategy, you just have a set of, I'm going to increase it so many percent every year, every other year, then the asset class doesn't look attractive. I've got friends that have rent. I've got a friend who has over 30 rentals. He hasn't raised the rent ever on any tenant that's there. And he always is frustrated with money. And I'm like, you have 30 rentals. He's retired. He retired at 55. But I'm like, you don't have to raise your rent to area average.
Right.
But
Just a little.
a recognizable percentage of area average. Yes. And then the money issues go away and you have it's so yes, like Graham Stephan, if you don't raise the rents, other investing strategies look more attractive. But if your rents are getting you, so year 1, my rentals get me around a 10% return, maybe a little better sometimes. By year 3, it's over 20%.
Yeah.
And I'm not above area average rents. I'm just keeping up with what I can in my area. And I have not seen an investing strategy that comes close to the returns, generating $600,000 in net worth growth last year without adding any properties.
Yeah.
I don't know an asset class that will do that, not counting the cash flow. A profit last year of over 6 figures, and a couple 6 figures this time.
Yeah.
That's the
RE3.
mistake I constantly hear.
I agree. RE3, even one bad rental experience, such as I described, is putting me away from landlording completely. Understand that. And here's the thing. Consider this, because I know you're a doc. Consider this. What if you're just doing it wrong? What if you're just not doing it the best way it can be done? That's why I end up buying a lot of properties that are completely just mismanaged by existing landlords. I get what I want. They get out of the game. They're thrilled to be done with that piece of crap. And I'm sitting there giddy in the streets. Picture a lumberjack skipping. I do that. I did that on a deal. Go ahead, Dion.
So also think of this. You got to 5 and then stopped, because if you have one problem with real estate, that's a 20% issue. If you have just one with one of your properties. But if you get to, and I don't even have a lot, I have 16 rentals. I have 2 or 3 with an issue, or 2 or 3 that stop paying. I don't notice it. Like the most time I spend managing my properties is literally opening up an app and seeing if the rent was paid. That takes the most time it takes to manage 16 rental units. But at 5, it felt like it was a job. It felt like it took 20 hours a week, and now it takes 2 hours a month to manage all 16. So as the economy of scale grew, the systems had to be in place. I'm not trying to talk you into more real estate, less other assets. If you have other assets, pick the one that excites you, go with that. You're more likely to handle when issues pop up if you're excited about the asset class. So what works for you?
Yeah. So guys, when you see that video come up tomorrow, please feel free to post questions. It is 11 items that I'm going to be covering, or that I believe are the tent poles of real landlord operator management and how to run an efficient and effective business. And you will see the video. It is literally called oh shit, I'm a landlord. Now what? Because that's exactly how I felt after I closed my first property. I was like, oh my word, what did I do? And I can tell you that it's all in there. But the other cool thing that we're going to do too is, as we go through the boot camp, there's 11 weeks that's pre-recorded that you guys will watch, and then we'll have our live boot camp about it. But my goal is in every single boot camp that we hold, that the group agree on something else that they want me to teach on, and I'll teach on that for you. If I have expertise in it, I will teach on that for you too. And then give you questions and all that other stuff. So I really want this to be about you guys and making sure that we take you from an average landlord to an elite landlord. Because I think that there's a lot of bad landlords out there. And to Dion's point, something as simple as not properly raising rents. I buy properties from a guy. I just bought a property from somebody. They've owned the property for 9 years. They've raised the rents twice ever. And it hasn't been for 5 years. And he's just like, yeah, I don't really want the asset anymore. It doesn't really make me any money. And I was like, so I bought the asset, and did I have to raise some rents? Yes, but I'm also rehabbing some of the units. The place was not that nice. It was a bunch of deferred maintenance. I've already done a roof, which I counted on. I already did siding, which I counted on. I finished the farmer's porch, which I counted on. I was like, I'm going to spend $100,000 on this building and make it much nicer than it is, because all these people that live there, I learned in the first 60 days that I owned it, all they did was complain about what a dump it was. I'm going to fix that. And after I fix those main things, and after I fix a few things in each of their units, it's then going to be, you don't have a dump anymore, but that costs money. What do you think is a fair number, the binder strategy? And that's the conversation that we'll then have. All-nighter hider, how could I not ask for a smart ass discount with a course name like that? Right? You can ask, just don't be upset when I say no. And then RE3, knowing lumberjack landlord, this will be super high quality. I appreciate that, guys. In all honesty, I really did not want to do a course, but I can't drink any more coffee, and I can't go to any more free dinners. And I wanted somewhere to point people where they could go and get all of my 22 years of experience in systems and processes laid out, where they could better understand how to manage their business, because that's what it is. It is a business. So I hope you guys all have an absolutely fantastic rest of your day. I will see you on Sunday on my live stream, where we will be talking more about the course, because the video breaks tomorrow on the course and the syllabus. I'll answer more of your questions there, but feel free to post them there. Yeah, that's basically it. Dion, any other thoughts?
Always remember, you will be alive in 5 years. Start investing like it.
That certainly is the hope. Well, guys, thank you so much for attending. Please make sure, if you didn't hit that like button, make sure you hit it on the way out. I appreciate all you guys. You guys are in it to win it. I'm telling you, I know people that spend this much time trying to fill their minds with knowledge always end up further ahead of the game, but just making sure you're trying to put your head with the right knowledge with where people have gotten with that knowledge is a big determinant of where you're going to be able to get to. Very few people can take bad information and make it good and get a better result than somebody else. So hopefully that was helpful to you guys. I appreciate y'all. Have a fantastic rest of your day. And I will see you on the live stream on Sunday, and check out the video tomorrow when it pops. Thanks, everybody.
Ciao.